And give me just a moment here.
Wait for that to start, so I'll let you know when we're good to go.
All right, I may be mistaken here. Let me hold on. Let me have the lead counsel for Orchid, please. And that is, I see Orchid attorneys there. And who have I got on my screen here?
Oh, hi, I'm Emerald Delgado.
Okay. And Ms. Delgado, are you seated at a chair there?
No, sir.
Oh.
No, Your Honor.
You could come a little closer if that's possible. If not, that's okay. But you could pull up a little closer and that would help me. You're just quite a distance from your camera.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Your Honor, but we have a stand right here that we have displayed our camera.
Got it. Okay, that's what we'll deal with then. No problem. Just wanted to check. And I seem to have here that the Orchid team is on defense, not on the plaintiff's side. What is, am I mistaken?
Yes, Your Honor, we are plaintiff today.
Got it. Okay. My scoring sheet here says, well, has defense at the top and plaintiff at the bottom, but I understand it. Okay, so Orchid is on the plaintiff's side, which makes Poppy on the defense side. Before we get going, I just want to make sure, this is, let's see, whoops. I suppose if I stapled these together, I wouldn't mess up the pages. So let me do that. And lead counsel is, here we go. Ms. Delgado, got it. Ms. Delgado, is your whole team there, witnesses and attorneys?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. I need lead counsel for the Poppy team, the defendant.
Yes, Your Honor.
And give me just a moment here on defense for the defendant and Ms. Walker. There we go. Ms. Walker, is your team here, attorneys and witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. Okay. And you can drop off then. And other witnesses can drop off as well as Ms. Delgado. You can drop your video too if you wish. What we're going to do first before we begin is I like to have the scoring, to introduce myself and the scoring panelists. We're going to try to move along as quickly as we can. I am going to streamline a few things just because we found that the time pressure was pretty extreme and I know all of you participants understand with 3 rounds today, time pressure is extreme. So I want to try to streamline this as I can, but I'd like to have all of our scoring panelists on, Ms. Evans, Ms. Duncan, Ms. Hill, and I will introduce myself. My name is John Wheeler. I was a district court judge in Arapahoe County for 14 years. I've been retired for 1 year. I love doing this. This is my 16th round of, or 16th time I've done these. I love doing them. Before that, for 26 years, I was a civil trial lawyer. Your problem, I know like the back of my hand. This is what I did for a living, was this type of litigation. So I'm very happy to do it. Ms. Evans, if you could introduce yourself to the scoring panelists in some similar way that I have, so they know who they're dealing with.
Hi, I'm Anastasia Evans. I am an attorney. I recently worked as a prosecutor for the city of Aurora. And now I'm a family law attorney at Griffiths Law, PC in Lone Tree. So I've been an attorney for about 5 years. I went to Pepperdine Law School and I'm excited. This is my first time judging.
Great. And Ms. Hill?
Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Hill. I recently graduated from law school actually in May, and I went to Temple University in Philadelphia. I work at a civil litigation firm here in Denver at Berg Simpson, where I do personal injury and commercial litigation. I'm also very excited to be a scoring panelist for you guys today. I did a lot of trial stuff in law school and in high school as well. So everyone have a really fun time and good luck.
Did you go to Temple for law school as well?
I went to Temple for law school and University of Maryland undergrad.
Thank you. And Ms. Duncan?
Hi, I'm Casey Duncan. I graduated from CU's law school in 2016. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I worked at the state public defender's office and was in district court in Denver County and down in Colorado Springs. And I'm now a municipal public defender for the city and county of Denver. So I volunteer for a lot of the moot court and mock trial things. It's always exciting and fun. So hope everyone does well today.
Thank you very much. And the scoring panelists may now drop their video. And I will, if I could have lead counsel on again, Ms. Delgado and Ms. Walker. All right. I think we have everything ready to go. So I will call the case up. This is the case of the plaintiff Dakota Weirs, the defendant Lush Fertilizer Incorporated, case number 21 CV 303720. And Ms. Delgado, for the plaintiff, is the plaintiff ready for trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
And for the defense, Ms. Walker, is the defense ready for trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I need to make sure that all of our visitors who are with us on YouTube are not recording this. You may watch it live, you may not record it without permission of the Colorado Bar Association. Also, I need to want to make sure all of those folks are aware that if you are a member or a coach of an opposing team, that you are not permitted to view these two teams. And I know everyone is aware of that, but I just want to make sure that I have that on the record. Give me a moment here. As the participants are all, I am sure aware, there will be no recesses during this proceeding unless I call them. I will call a recess if I find of any health emergency. So please, all the participants, understand that if there is a health emergency, let someone know or let me know. Just come break into whatever we're doing, and we will take a recess for whatever purpose we need. If there is a technical problem, we will also take a recess. But I will make that determination on whether or not whatever technical problem it is would interfere with the proceeding. But I will make that determination if necessary. I know that all of you participants are aware that if there are disputes that arise, they must be brought within the rules, whether they are inside or outside the competition. Either bring it to my attention if appropriate, or bring it to the attention of the Rules Committee. Time compliance will be strictly enforced. I'd ask for, very briefly, if the timekeepers, I've got the Orchid timekeeper, and I'm looking for the, there it is, the Poppy timekeeper. If you could come on very quickly, please, on your video. Or if not on the video, at least so that you're on the screen. I just need confirmation that the timekeepers are all ready to go. timekeeper for Poppy. Looks like Ms. Taylor, you're all ready.
Yes, Your Honor.
And for Orchid, I can't see a name, but for the Orchid, sir, you are ready as well.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
And you'll be posting, I assume, time by chat. Is that correct, each of you?
No, Your Honor. I have actually time cards that I will be turning on my video and showing on my screen, if that's permissible.
No problem at all. And for the Orchid timekeeper, I know I've got your name here. Just a moment, I'll find it. It is closing. Mr. Diaz, is that correct?
No.
Oh. And but what is your name?
My name is Angelo Durbano.
We're getting a feedback there from you. How are you going to notify us of time if you need to? By chat or by card?
Through chat.
Through chat. That's probably a good thing. If you can't get rid of that echo. Good enough. Timekeepers, you can drop off. I'm going to ask now, a moment. Ms. Delgado, if you could introduce yourself and please refer to your co-counsel so that they can introduce themselves as well as your witnesses.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, members of the jury, opposing counsel, my name is Emerald Delgado, and along with my co-counsel, Emily Merez and Montse Garcia, today I will be conducting the direct examination of Dakota Weirs and cross-examination of Blank Doncourt.
Thank you.
And
And go right ahead. I interrupted you.
Okay, I'm sorry. And I will be doing the direct of Dr. Rogers and the cross of Dr. Williams, and I will also be conducting the closing.
And that is Ms. Merez.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And final counsel.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Montserrat Garcia, and I will be conducting the opening, directing Carson Durst, and crossing Skylar Weirs.
And if you could refer to the first witness, please, and let him or her introduce themselves.
Thank you, Your Honor. Our witnesses, permission for our witnesses to introduce themselves?
Yes, they may. Just so we know who we're talking to, give us the first one.
Dakota Weirs, Jacqueline Talavera.
And will they introduce themselves on the screen, please, if they're available?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury, opposing counsel. I'm Jacqueline Talavera, and today I'll be playing Dakota Weirs.
Thank you. And next witness?
I'm William Johnson, and today I'm going to be playing Carson Durst.
Thank you. And final witness?
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the jury, opposing counsel. I am Mackenzie Bryant, and I will be playing Dr. Casey Rogers.
Thank you very much. Now we'll do the same drill for the defense. And Ms. Walker, if you could introduce yourself and then pass the baton to your co-counsel.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Miss Mary Walker. I use she, her pronouns, and today I will be conducting the direct examination of Skylar Weirs and the cross-examination of Carson Durst. Permission for my co-counsel to introduce themselves?
Absolutely.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Miss Helen Blake. I use she, her pronouns, and today I will be conducting the direct examination of Dr. Devin Williams, the cross-examination of Dr. Casey Rogers, and the closing argument.
Thank you. And our final attorney?
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Miss Abigail Shapiro. I use she, her pronouns, and today I will be delivering the opening statement along with conducting the direct examination of Blake Doncourt and the cross-examination of Dakota Weirs. Permission for our witnesses to introduce themselves?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Mr. William Sharp. I use he, him pronouns, and today I am Blake Doncourt.
Thank you. And next witness?
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Miss Morgan Romine. I use she, her pronouns, and today I am Skylar Weirs.
Thank you. And our final witness?
Good afternoon, Your Honor, members of the jury and opposing counsel. My name is Miss Audrey Gordon. I use she, her pronouns, and I am Devin Williams.
Thank you. Okay, we can drop all of our witnesses off at the moment. I'm gonna streamline this a little bit right now. You have all been, as team members, attorneys, you have all been sworn in the previous proceeding. It just takes time, and you have all been sworn in to follow all of the rules in this competition. I believe that that is sufficient, as well as our witnesses have all been sworn in to follow the rules of the competition. The only two groups who have not necessarily been sworn are the gallery members, and all those are all the people that are watching on YouTube, and since they're not in the courtroom, they don't need to be sworn in, which leaves our scoring panelists. So I'd like our scoring panelists to return to the screen. And Ms. Hill. I'm assuming we've got Ms. Hill there. There she is right there. You don't need to put your video on. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hands. Do you promise to adjudicate the mock trial competition as fairly and objectively as possible in accordance with the facts and procedures and rules of the mock trial competition? You may nod in your assent. Thank you very much. And you may drop off again. And as the participants are aware, that's the last time you will see the scoring your jury until the end of the trial after they have submitted their ballots. So their scoring sheets. So with that said, we will move forward, and Ms. Delgado, is the plaintiff ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. Will we be doing preliminary matters?
Oh, absolutely. That's the next step. If you're ready to proceed, do you have any preliminary matters?
Yes, Your Honor. I ask that after exhibits have been admitted into evidence, my timekeeper be permitted to publish those exhibits to the jury.
That's fine. My understanding is how are exhibits going to be handled? Do you have someone who is going to be screen sharing for us?
Yes, Your Honor. Our timekeeper should be doing it.
Good. So screen share for everyone. I will instruct the jury that they will not address those exhibits unless and until I admit them. But it's too complicated just to screen share with me. So just screen share generally, and then I will admit the exhibit and the jury may consider it at that time. Is that satisfactory?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. We ask that we be permitted to remove our masks when we are actively participating.
You certainly may, although you're not required to. I'm going to leave that up to each individual to make that decision. Since the mask mandate has been dropped, whether that's good or bad is not my decision to make. But I will leave that up to each individual. If you wish to unmask, you certainly may. Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. I ask for purposes of clarity, because there are two members of the Weirs family testifying, that as necessary, we be permitted to refer to them by the first names.
A wise precaution. Thank you very much. That way there'll be no confusion, and I'll make sure as each witness takes the stand that they understand that.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further preliminary matters. With that, Your Honor, the plaintiff is ready to proceed.
Thank you. And Ms. Walker, any preliminary matters for the defense?
We have a few preliminary matters, Your Honor. First, we asked for the crossing attorney to keep their camera on throughout the entire direct examination.
And that is certainly acceptable and probably appropriate. for opposing counsel, whoever is opposing, to keep their cameras on at any particular time.
Thank you, Your Honor. And second, we ask that for technical difficulties, including the process of screen sharing, that time be paused for both sides.
Yes, time is paused both for health emergencies and technical difficulties until I work them out. Yes. Anything else?
Just one more, Your Honor. And given the fact that we are conducting this trial virtually, we ask for the option to remain seated for direct and cross examinations.
Anyone may remain seated. I have no preference, and the jury will not discriminate between people who are standing or sitting, nor will they insist on, or nor will I insist on one or the other. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine with me on a virtual conference or a virtual trial. Anything else?
No, Your Honor. We are ready to proceed.
Okay, and it appears from my list here that opening statement for the plaintiff will be by Ms. Garcia. And Ms. Garcia, are you ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then opening for the plaintiff.
Envision yourself at the edge of your biggest dream. You've worked so hard and accomplished so much, and you're there at the finish line, when suddenly it is all taken away from you. All of that hard work, all of that passion, all of your hopes and dreams, gone. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Montserrat Garcia Rincon, and today, along with my co-counsel, Emily Mers and Emerald Delgado, I am representing Dakota Weirs. Today, you will hear from my client, Dakota, a young adult with many dreams she can no longer accomplish. She will tell you that she had the opportunity to work, volunteer, and play the piano. She was even awarded a scholarship to attend one of the best performing art colleges in the world, to continue to pursue her passion as a pianist. Dakota will explain that at the age of 14, she needed money to get herself through school. So she began to work as a landscaping technician at Haven Landscaping. There, she could earn money and combine that with her love of the outdoors and working with her hands. She will testify that what she didn't know is that by working, she was exposed to a cancer-causing chemical, Drufo. She will explain that she started to feel fatigue, chest pains, and many other painful effects. She was then diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a type of cancer that affects the lymphatic system. Because of this, her dreams as a piano performer ended. The perfect melody to her life became silence. Dakota will tell you that she had to give up her Juilliard scholarship, as well as her passion for the piano. Along with Dakota, you will hear from Carson Durst, who will tell you how the company works on the inside, how Lush Fertilizer tried to cover up the fact that Drufo is linked to cancer. You will also hear from Dr. Casey Rogers, who will tell you how the chemical Drufo used in Lush Fertilizer caused Dakota's cancer. Lush Fertilizer was chasing money while Dakota was chasing her dreams. On the defendant's side, you will hear how Lush Fertilizer failed to ensure its product was researched thoroughly and failed to ensure its safety. You will hear from Blake Doncourt, CEO of Lush Fertilizer, who will make it very clear that Lush Fertilizer's corporate values revolve around its profits. Doncourt will admit that baking the fertilizer would remove any risk causing cancer, but that Lush decided not to do that because it was too expensive. You will also hear from Skylar Weirs, Dakota's twin, who is an investigative journalist with no background in science, no college degree, and who has no firsthand experience with Drufo. Finally, you will hear from Devin Williams, who works for Lush and claims that Drufo is safe. Dr. Williams will admit, however, that Drufo is banned in the EU. Dr. Williams will also admit to having a financial bias in the outcome of this case. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the evidence in this case will show that Lush Fertilizer caused Dakota's cancer. Because Lush was only chasing money, Dakota can no longer chase her dreams. Thank you.
Thank you. Give me just a moment. And Ms. Shapiro, opening statement for the defense.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. We are here today because of a terrible tragedy. I, along with my co-counsel and client, offer our deepest sympathies to Dakota Weirs and her family. Miss Weirs' life has been altered forever, and now she wants answers. We understand. Tragedy often prompts the search for truth, but today, the defense is asking you to separate the truth from the tragedy. And the truth of the matter is that the plaintiff will not be able to prove that there is a connection between Drufo and non-Hodgkin lymphoma. The defense will begin its case by calling Blake Doncourt, the CEO of Lush Fertilizer Incorporated, to the stand. You will hear about Lush from his perspective and learn that Lush is Mr. Doncourt's passion project, a method of working toward a more sustainable planet while keeping consumers safe. Mr. Doncourt focused on what was reasonably foreseeable for his company based on the information that was available to him. You will hear about the exact reasoning behind all of his decisions. Next, the defense will call Skylar Weirs to the stand. Now, testifying against her own twin is not something that Ms. Weirs takes lightly, but as an experienced researcher in agricultural technology, Ms. Weirs will explain the benefits of Drufo, the vital ingredient used in Lush fertilizer. She will tell you that Drufo is proven to be safer than its competitors because it reduces the need to use other fertilizers, resulting in less chemical exposure for both its users and the environment. Ms. Weirs will tell you that there is not a single viable study that links Drufo to non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Now, Lush has incorporated Drufo in its products for years, yet Dakota Weirs is the only person to ever bring a claim of negligence to a court of law. This will make you pause and question if there is truly a link of causation between Drufo and non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Finally, the defense will call Dr. Devin Williams to the stand. Dr. Williams leads the toxicology research and development labs for Lush and is also the outgoing chair of the company's ethics committee. She will testify that the use of Drufo has not been correlated with a significant increase in the incidence of non-Hodgkin lymphoma or any other condition. She will also address a study that the plaintiff will attempt to use to prove causation. Dr. Williams will challenge the veracity of this study because it is vague, not peer-reviewed, and it has never been replicated. The plaintiff claims that Lush was negligent. To be successful in their case, the plaintiff has the burden of proving by a preponderance of the evidence that 1, Lush fertilizer causes non-Hodgkin lymphoma, 2, Lush Fertilizer Incorporated had a duty to warn, 3, there was a breach of that duty, and 4, there are significant damages as a result of that breach. The plaintiff will call Dr. Casey Rogers to the stand, who will present a study that is simply not reliable. The plaintiff will also call Carson Durst to the stand, and he will claim that Lush did not adequately test Drufo, but the defense will expose Mr. Durst's vendetta against Lush Fertilizer and specifically Blake Doncourt. Lastly, the plaintiff will call Dakota Weirs to the stand. Ms. Weirs will claim that there is an insufficient warning on Lush Fertilizer's user recommendation label, but she must also testify to the fact that she did not follow the proper instructions on this label. Lush did not have a duty to warn, but they did, in fact, include user recommendations. Members of the jury, the defense does not dispute the fact that Dakota Weirs is suffering from a terrible medical condition. Ms. Weirs will share with you how her life has changed forever because of this diagnosis. We can all recognize this tragedy. However, the defense will show you that Drufo is both safe and ethical. We will show you that there is no reliable proof of causation in court today, and therefore Lush had no duty to warn consumers and could not breach that duty. If you do, nevertheless, find that there is causation, you must consider Ms. Weirs' comparative negligence under jury instruction number 2. In this trial, you will come to understand that Lush Fertilizer is not the source of Ms. Weirs' illness. This will be enough for you to separate the truth from the tragedy. This will be enough for you to find Lush Fertilizer Incorporated not liable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give me just a moment. And we'll now have first witness for the plaintiff. And I believe Ms. Delgado, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And if you'd call when you, sorry, I was a little quick there. If you would call your first witness, we'll get moving.
Your Honor, I call Plaintiff Dakota Weirs to the stand.
And our first witness is Dakota Weirs. I neglected to say earlier, pardon me for interrupting here. All of the witnesses have already been sworn in the first trial, and I consider again that is sufficient. It just wastes your time if I recite those words that you've already all heard. So you may begin with the sworn witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please introduce yourself to the jury, Ms. Weirs.
I'm Dakota Weirs. Weirs is spelled W-E-I-R-S.
Ms. Weirs, can you tell us why you're here today?
I'm here because I'm suing Lush Fertilizer because the product made me sick.
What kind of sickness, Ms. Weirs?
I now am diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma, which is cancer.
Now, how old are you, Ms. Weirs?
I'm currently 20 years old.
Are you a college student?
Unfortunately, I am not. I had to defer my Fulbright scholarship to Juilliard for 2 years.
When did you learn that you had developed non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
Well, when I started getting ready to leave for Juilliard, I started feeling very sick. I was just very tired. I was getting lots of chest pains, lymph nodes. It was like having such a horrible flu.
How were you diagnosed?
Well, after lots of medical visits and medical bills, I was finally diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
How did your diagnosis affect your life?
Well, it affected my life because I'm not able to do things that I love, such as being able to participate in extracurricular activities, being able to participate and work at and volunteer at my local shelter and play the piano, which I really love doing.
Now, I want to talk to you about your interests. Do you do anything for your community?
I do. I work at a local homeless shelter. Well, I used to work there, where I will serve dishes as well as wash dishes, and I'll just help the unfortunate ones.
How else has your diagnosis affected you?
Well, it has affected me because I'm not able to play the piano as well as participate in extracurricular activities.
Now, you mentioned before that you had a scholarship from Juilliard. What is your understanding of Juilliard?
Well, my understanding is that it's a very prestigious school, and I always got very good grades, and I just love playing the piano, which I believe was what got me into it.
And did you receive financial aid from Juilliard?
I did. I received a full scholarship.
Let's talk about the piano. Can you tell us when you began playing?
Of course, I started playing when I was pretty young, and it was all due to my wonderful grandfather, which he gifted my parents a beautiful piano when they got married.
What were your first experiences with the piano?
Well, my first experiences were when I remember was very young, and I'll just waddle over to this very beautiful piano, and I was just so attached to it that I'll set my toys underneath and I'll pretend like they were my little audience, and I'll just bang on the keyboards.
Who taught you the piano?
My grandfather. Once I became a little older, I would just sit on his lap, and I just used to admire how powerful he looked just playing the piano. It just sounded very, very wonderful.
Objection.
And I'm sorry, there's an objection, Ms. Shapiro. What's the objection?
Relevance.
Your Honor, sorry about that.
No, Ms. Delgado, what is your response?
Your Honor, this is relevant because it lays basis to Miss Dakota Weirs' life before she was affected with non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Ms. Shapiro?
Yes, I do agree with my opposing counsel that it is important for Ms. Weirs to be able to testify to her past, but Ms. Weirs is going into very, very specific detail as to who taught her and her performances, and that is not relevant to this case.
I'm going to overrule the objection. Although this is in some detail, it can be explained if the plaintiff's position is that Ms. Weirs is so emotionally affected by this, it could have something to do with her background as far back as childhood. So I'm going to let the plaintiff's attorney try her case as she will. If she wants to spend time on this, so be it. So Ms. Delgado, you may continue.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Dakota, would you like me to restate my question or would you like to move on?
Can you please restate your question?
Who taught you the piano, Ms. Weirs?
My grandfather did. I used to sit on his lap and he'll teach me.
Besides your grandpa, have you had lessons or classes?
I have. Unfortunately, my grandfather passed away when I was just 7 years old, and my parents considered in getting me some lessons.
And were you successful in that pursuit?
I did become pretty successful.
Besides keeping you from playing piano, attending college, how else has your diagnosis affected you?
Well, it has affected me because I feel like I have lost my grandfather again.
How do you feel about your diagnosis, Ms. Weirs?
Well, I feel very tired, very depressed, but most of all, I feel terrified.
Why do you believe Defendant Lush is responsible for this?
Well, I believe they're responsible for this because I used to work at Havens Landscaping where I used to work with chemicals, the main one being Lush.
And how old were you when you first started working at Havens Landscaping?
I was 14 years old.
How long did you work there?
I worked until I was 17, 18 years old.
How would you describe your experience at Havens Landscaping?
I love working there. I love my coworkers. I love feeling the bare wind in my face. It was an incredible experience.
You've testified about how busy you were in high school with maintaining high grades, participating in extracurriculars, and becoming an accomplished pianist. Why did you choose to work as well?
Well, my family really needed the money, and I also wanted to pay for my college.
What did you do specifically at your job?
Well, I was pretty young to work with the big machines, so I usually would fertilize and spread seeds around.
What products did you work with?
I worked with lots of products, but the main one was Lush.
Your Honor, permission to show the witness what has been previously marked as Exhibit 1.
Exhibit 1 may be screen shared for identification.
Thank you, Your Honor. It will also be displayed for opposing counsel. Please. Now, Ms. Dakota Weirs, please take a look at this document. Do you recognize it?
I do.
What is it?
It is a label of Lush fertilizer.
Where have you seen this before?
I have seen it in the product of Lush.
And is it an accurate copy of that Lush label?
It is.
And Ms. Delgado, could I ask the timekeeper to rotate that document, please? If that can be done, rotate clockwise.
Your Honor, our timekeeper is not able to do so.
No problem. Go right ahead then.
Right, thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, at this time, I ask that Exhibit 1 be admitted into evidence.
And Ms. Let's see, Ms. Shapiro, what is your position there on Exhibit 1?
The defense does not object to Exhibit 1 being admitted into evidence.
Exhibit 1 is admitted then, and Ms. Delgado, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. This, besides listing the product's ingredients, what does the label say?
It includes some hazards and what seems to be user safety recommendations.
What are those hazards that are identified?
Well, it says keep out of reach of children and that it could cause eye irritation.
Does it have any other warnings, such as it could cause cancer?
It does not.
You mentioned user safety recommendations. What were those?
What it includes it recommends protective gear and it recommends some protective gear.
What did you wear while you were working with this Lush product, Ms. Weirs?
Well, it was always pretty sunny, and I did just as my coworkers, and I was wearing t-shirts and shorts.
What about protective equipment?
No, not really. But if I knew that this product could have made me sick and caused cancer, I would have done things way differently.
Objection, speculation.
And Ms. Delgado?
Your Honor, this is not speculation because Dakota Weirs has a right to know what is going on with her body and what is happening.
And Ms. Shapiro?
Yes, Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 702, this witness has not been qualified to testify to anything to do with these lawn chemicals because Ms. Weirs does not have any specialized knowledge, experience, education, training, and does not meet the threshold to testify as an expert. And so she cannot speculate as to what she would have done if she had known something.
Ms. Delgado, I'll give you one more shot at this.
Your Honor, all Ms. Dakota Weirs has said was she would have done things differently. It does not speculate anything.
This is a close call. However, although with one eye you may look at this as speculation, it is actually an opinion by a lay witness. And under Rule 701, witnesses may give opinions if they have the background, and she has the background. She was there. For what it's worth, she can say that she would have done this if she had had the opportunity. So I'm going to let it in under 701. Ms. Delgado, you may continue. Let's move forward from that question.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Dakota Weirs, you testified that after your diagnosis, you learned that Drufel was a carcinogen. How?
Well, I was recovering, which is what I usually spend my time doing now. And I saw that someone had exposed Lush fertilizer and their main ingredient being Drufel.
Objection, best evidence.
And Ms. Delgado? Are you still talking about the product label, Ms. Delgado?
Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Or let me, I missed it. I just missed it. So if you did re-ask the question, Ms. Delgado, my fault.
Right, Your Honor. You testified that after your diagnosis, you learned that Drufel was a carcinogen. How?
Well, while I was recovering, which is what I usually spend my time doing now, I saw that someone had exposed Lush fertilizer and that their main ingredient was Drufel.
Your Honor, the defense objects under best evidence to that testimony.
All right, and what is the objection on best evidence? What is the best evidence?
The best evidence is the research that Dakota Weirs has claimed to do, because we do not have that research or that exposure of lush fertilizer in court with us today.
All right, Ms. Delgado, any response?
May I have a moment to confirm with my co-counsel?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. So it had an effect on the viewer and it was on the label, which it's not best evidence, I believe.
All right, that's actually what I was looking for. I've not ever in 14 years as a district court judge, I've not dealt with best evidence rule in this context, other than outside of admission of a document. However, to me, the question is about Ms. Weir's knowledge, whether she had knowledge of something. And she said she had knowledge of some report, whatever report that was. Whether that's weak or strong evidence doesn't matter. It's her knowledge that counts. If she goes into more detail about it, perhaps there's a different objection that can be made based on a report that she would be referring to, which she would have to produce, or at least have as an exhibit. But just saying, I rely on this without more, I don't believe that involves the best evidence rule, and it is merely testimony about her knowledge. I'm going to allow it. Ms. Delgado, you may continue. Objection overruled.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Permission to restate my question, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Now, Dakota Weirs, you testified that after your diagnosis, you learned that Drufo was a carcinogen. How?
Well, I was recovering and I saw that the news and that someone had exposed lush fertilizer and the main ingredient being Drufo.
What did you do after you found this out?
I immediately called my father and my old boss.
What did you call your boss?
I called him to see if he could send me a picture to see if the label was actually what I've been using.
And was it?
It was.
Is there any other reason that you believe Drufo caused your cancer?
I do. I have a twin and their name is Skylar, and we pretty much live identical lives, except that Skylar was allergic to grass, so they were not able to work in an environmental, which is why this cause is environmental and not genetic.
Ms. Weirs, what are you hoping to accomplish by bringing this lawsuit?
I'm hoping to accomplish that no one else uses this product and know how dangerous it could be and that it could ruin their life like it did to mine.
Your Honor, no further questions for Ms. Dakota Weirs.
Thank you. We'll have cross-exam in just a moment. Catch up on my list here. And Ms. Shapiro, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Weirs. I want to begin by talking about your landscaping job. Now, you were only 14 years old when you began your job at Haven Landscaping.
I was, yes.
And this job required you to work with a lot of different chemicals.
Yes, the main one being Lush, yes.
And your boss always told you to cover your face while you were working with these chemicals.
Yes, but it was always very hot.
And you were supposed to always wear certain protective clothing.
I was recommended to wear some, yes.
This could include long sleeves,
Yes.
long pants,
Yes.
and gloves.
Yes.
But you did not follow these guidelines.
I did not, but if I know any better, I would have done things different.
And in part, you did not follow these guidelines because your coworkers didn't either.
That is correct.
Let's talk about the labels on the lawn products that you used. Now, you used Lush fertilizer along with several other fertilizers and lawn chemicals, correct?
I did.
And you believe that the Lush label pictured in Exhibit 1 does not sufficiently warn its users.
Yes, I believe that.
And this label clearly recommends customers to wear certain clothing and face masks.
It does.
This is the same recommendation that your employer gave you?
Yes.
These are the same precautions that your coworkers did not follow?
That is also correct.
And these are the same precautions that you ignored?
Yes.
Now, you believe that there are other products that have better warning labels than Lush.
I do.
But those labels are not here in court with us to compare to the Lush label.
They are not.
Let's talk about how you came to your own conclusions in this case. You watched some news stories about Lush's use of Drufo.
I did.
But you do not mention a specific news source.
I do not.
Now, you found a label of Lush fertilizer from France.
I did.
But that original label is not with us in court today.
It is not, no.
I want to talk about something that you said both in your witness statement and on direct examination. You said that non-Hodgkin lymphoma is caused by environmental factors, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Now, you and your twin Skylar did almost everything together except for your landscaping job.
Yes, that's because Skylar was allergic to grass.
Right. So Skylar did not experience similar environmental factors as you.
They did not know.
Your coworkers, however, did experience similar environmental factors as you.
I don't really speak to them, so I'm not very sure.
Your coworkers worked with you at Haven Landscaping?
They did.
And so it is fair to assume that they experienced a similar environment as you?
Yeah.
And is it also fair to assume that there are other landscapers across the country who have experienced similar environmental factors as you?
Objection, speculation.
Ms. Shapiro?
Yes.
The relevance of what happened around the country?
Yes, Your Honor. It is the defense's theory of the case that Drufo is not the cause of non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Therefore, the fact that there are other landscapers across the country who have used Drufo and have not reported diagnosis of non-Hodgkin lymphoma is very probative to the theory of our case.
And Ms. Delgado?
Your Honor, Ms. Dakota Weirs cannot assume what others have done around the world in America and in America. So she cannot speculate.
I agree. The objection is sustained because although it is true that other retail companies or contractors use this product, we don't know whether they enforce their rule about everybody wearing masks and everybody wearing proper clothing. So the fact that they don't have any disease doesn't mean that it didn't happen here, where we know those things did not happen. No mask, no protective clothing. So the objection is sustained. Let's move to another topic.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, Ms. Weirs, you do not personally know if any of your coworkers have been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
I do not.
And you do not know.
Objection, speculation.
She indicated she does not know, so there's no objection can stand there. Let's move on.
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Weirs, you do not know of any specific case other than your own where Drufo causes non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
That is correct.
Thank you, Ms. Weirs. I truly hope that your condition improves, and I wish you all the best in your future. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions for this witness.
And we'll have redirect in just a moment. Ms. Delgado, redirect your witness.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Thank you. Without redirect, there is no recross, as you know. Ms. Weirs, thank you very much for your testimony. You are excused. And in a moment, we will have the next, let's see, is Ms. Garcia, are you presenting the next witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. We will have the next witness, who is Carson Durst. I believe we have Ms. Walker on cross-examination. Ms. Garcia, you may call your witness.
Your Honor, the plaintiff calls Mr. Carson Durst as a witness.
And Mr. Durst, as I indicated before, all witnesses have been sworn. Ms. Garcia, you may proceed.
Your Honor. Mr. Durst, please state and spell your name for the jury.
Carson Durst, C-A-R-S-O-N-D-U-R-S-T.
Thank you, Mr. Durst. I would like to start off by asking you about your employment. Where do you currently work?
I currently work for Terrace Greenery. I've worked there for 15 years, and I'm currently the lead product developer, and I'm the head of the research and development team.
And what are your responsibilities as the head of the research and development team?
Well, I'm in charge of overseeing the development for Terrace Greenery's lawn enhancement products and fertilizers.
Seems like that's an important position. What's your educational background like?
I went to Arizona State University alongside Charlie Doncourt, and I have a bachelor's in chemical engineering.
And what did you do after college before you started working for Terrace Greenery?
Straight out of college, I started as an intern for Lush.
And when did you start working for Lush?
June of 2003.
Moving on, I'd like to talk about your work at Lush. What was the biggest project you got to work on?
I was in charge of developing a fertilizer for Lush.
And what was your role on the team researching Lush?
I was researching a chemical compound called Drufo.
And how did you perform that research?
I researched existing studies about this chemical compound.
Did you find anything in those studies?
Yes, I found a study in England about the link between this chemical compound and cancer in rats.
And Mr. Durst, did you report these findings anywhere?
Yes, I did. I reported them in my lab notebook, as all the employees would.
And where would these reports go?
They would go to my superior, Jerry Langley, and she would bring them up to the higher ups.
And what happened after you reported those findings in your notebook?
We got word that...
I'm sorry, there's an objection.
Your Honor, I object to best evidence. This study has not been admitted into evidence.
Ms. Garcia?
Your Honor, I am not offering the study for the truth of the matter. I am asking what happened with the reports afterward.
Ms. Walker?
I would just ask that Mr. Durst limit the scope of this testimony and that he not talk about the contents within the study.
Well, we haven't had that testimony yet to make a proper objection to, but again, at the moment, this is not being offered for its truth, only that it occurred, that this is what he reported, not that it's true or false, just his report. So this objection is overruled. Ms. Garcia, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If the witness needs the question again, you may repeat it.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Durst, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Mr. Durst, what happened after you reported the finding in your notebook?
We got word from Lush that there was going to be another in-house study.
Your Honor, permission to display Exhibit 4 to the witness?
Yes, you may display Exhibit 4 for identification.
Your Honor, I'm also showing opposing counsel a copy of Exhibit 4.
Correct.
Mr. Durst, do you recognize Exhibit 4?
Yes, I do.
What is Exhibit 4?
It is an email from my superior, Jerry Langley, sent to a group of employees. I was one of those recipients.
And is Exhibit 4 correct and accurate?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I move that Exhibit 4 be admitted into evidence.
Ms. Walker, any position on Exhibit 4?
Yes, Your Honor, I have two objections for Exhibit 4. The first one being 1002, the requirement of the original document, and hearsay.
All right, and Ms. Garcia, as to, let's deal with hearsay first. Do you have a response to the hearsay objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Under Rule 801, D2, this is admissible because it is an opposing party statement. Jerry Langley was Mr. Durst's product manager at Lush, and she was authorized to write this email. Therefore, it is not hearsay.
Ms. Walker, any response on the hearsay?
No response, Your Honor. I stand by
Right.
my objection.
Yeah, I'm going to rule on this quickly on the hearsay. It is both a business record and it is an admission. And Mr. Durst is on the email. He received it. He can testify to it. It is someone else's, but he got it, so he can testify to it. Now, as to the 1002 original document rule, Ms. Garcia, what is your position there?
Your Honor, Mr. Durst was one of the recipients of the email. He read it and knows what it is about.
And okay, Ms. Walker, what's your position there? The testimony has been he received it.
Your Honor, Mr. Durst printed out this email in 2003, and we have not had any other witnesses testify as to the validity of this email. And there is no way of knowing without the original.
Well, if it's an email, it's electronic evidence. There is no original. The only documents that are created are electronic copies. This has been identified as an electronic copy that he received in 2003. I'm going to admit it over objection on that ground. That objection is overruled. Ms. Garcia, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, permission to publish Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Durst, what was the purpose of the email?
It was explaining the parameters of the study, and it made it clear that they wanted the study to go a certain way to support the hypothesis.
And was this normal procedure at Lush?
Yes, we had to give the company wiggle room in case of lawsuits and try to create no definitive answers and help support it.
And what happened after the study was concluded?
Well, we had a meeting and where all of us would report our findings.
And who was in this meeting?
The research and development team.
And what was reported in the conference?
I recall one scientist expressing concern that Drufo may have a carcinogen, and specifically linking to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I remember Alex Monroe saying, let's keep it in the walls until we know what we're doing.
And when the final report came out, what were the main conclusions of this?
I'm sorry, is there an objection?
Yes, Your Honor, I objected to hearsay.
And Ms. Garcia?
Your Honor, this was in the witness's statement.
This was in Mr. Durst's statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
That doesn't mean it's not hearsay. What's the objection to the hearsay objection? Or what is your response to the hearsay objection?
Your Honor, permission to confer with my co-counsel.
Yes, you may.
Your Honor, I'll move on from the question.
Thank you.
Your Honor, permission for that statement to be struck from the record.
The question, I don't think there was an answer yet, was there?
Yes, Mr. Durst did attest to say that Jerry Langley said, let's keep it in the walls.
I'm sorry. Yes, he did. The jury is instructed to disregard that statement as evidence. Ms. Garcia, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Moving on, Mr. Durst, when the final report came out, what were the main conclusions of the study?
Well, the study concluded that the statistics and distribution was below what was required by law. And it did say that further research was needed to determine if there was any negative side effects for long-term use. And it did suggest baking the fertilizer to prevent any carcinogens.
And Mr. Durst, did Lush Fertilizer do anything about these conclusions?
Well, afterwards, I started to receive negative performance reviews, which I believe is in retaliation to the choice of my study.
And Mr. Durst, how did this affect your relationship with Lush?
Well, I decided that there was no future for me at this company, and I decided to move on and continue my path elsewhere.
Thank you, Mr. Durst. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Thank you. We'll have cross-exam in just a moment. Let me get back to my list. And Ms. Walker, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Oh, yes, you may.
Good afternoon, Mr. Durst. I would like to talk about your relationship with Blake Duncourt. You are close with the CEO of Lush, Mr. Duncourt, correct?
Well, he did provide some rides to my soccer games as a kid, yes.
Right. In fact, you say they were like the family you never had.
That's true.
And you were best friends with his son, Charles, correct?
Yes.
And he got his dad to offer you an internship at Lush?
I don't know whether Blake was involved personally, but yes, he got me in the door, but it was my responsibility to perform my best.
So with this new job, you were tasked with helping to research the safety of Drufo, correct?
Yes.
Specifically, you were tasked with researching a chemical compound, C3NO9P.
That is correct.
And you found a study that to support the evidence that this chemical might be carcinogenic.
Yes, in rats. Yes.
Right, Mr. Durst. The study was done on rats.
Well, it's a company's job to make sure that their product is in fact safe, and if there's something harmful in animals, it could be harmful in humans.
Thank you, Mr. Durst. But did you ever find any studies that supported this theory that this chemical compound might be carcinogenic in humans?
No, but as I said, we need to make sure it is safe, and we needed to look for all possibilities.
Right, but you didn't find any possibilities, did you?
Yeah,
Mr. Durst, do you have a study that claims that Drufo is carcinogenic in rats here in court today? Or in humans? I'm sorry.
no, I do not. But as I said, it's the company's job to make sure that their product is safe and not to cause harm to anyone. They need to look at all fields.
Thank you, Mr. Durst. I'll move on. And while working at Lush, despite the one article you found, you rose quickly through the ranks, correct?
I believe I was performing at a higher level, yes.
In fact, you were promoted to a full-time position as a product development engineer shortly after you had arrived,
That is correct.
only after 3 months of being an intern at Lush Fertilizer.
Yes, I believe I was performing a higher level, and I do believe I brought qualities to that role.
Thank you, Mr. Durst. Now in December of 2003, your team conducted another in-house experiment
That is correct.
to test whether Drufo was potentially carcinogenic in humans.
That is correct.
And this report came out,
Yes,
which you read.
yes,
But Mr. Durst, this report was inconclusive.
yes.
And you, part of the team that tested the safety of Drufo, never conducted another study on the health effects in humans.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Mr. Durst, you as part of the team that tested the safety of Drufo never conducted another study on the health effects in humans.
I did not personally conduct the study. As I said before, my job was to research prior studies.
Thank you. Did Blake know about these inconclusive reports reached by the scientists?
I'm not sure what Blake knows, but I'm pretty sure he was involved.
Right, but isn't it true that you did not ensure that your superiors knew of these possibilities?
I think they knew my feelings towards it.
Mr. Durst, you yourself did not bring up any of these concerns to Blake or any higher position of Lush.
I did not need to. They knew my concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Durst. I'd like to talk about how your career ended at Lush. All of a sudden, you received lots of criticism from your senior members and supervisors.
That is correct. I do believe that was in retaliation towards my opinion about Drufo.
Poor performance reviews.
Yes.
And these kept coming for months.
Yes.
Up until 2005, when you confronted Mr. Duncourt, correct?
Yes.
And you asked him to talk with your supervisor, Gary.
Yes, I did.
But Mr. Duncourt refused.
Yes. Yes, he most certainly did.
And he, in fact,
he
told
said
you
that.
to go up and do your job, Mr. Durst.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? I might have interrupted you.
Blake told you to grow up and do your job.
Objection, hearsay.
And Ms. Walker?
Your Honor, I am not using this for the truth of the matter. In this case, I am simply using this to show the bias that Carson Durst may have, as he was betrayed and ignored by Blake Duncourt and went to a new job because of that.
Ms. Garcia?
Your Honor, closing counsel is using a quote made by Mr. Duncourt. If it's not being used for the truth of the matter, then.
I agree that this is not a question towards requires an answer toward the truth of the matter. It has to do with the reaction of the witness and what the witness next did and what his next position was. So the objection is overruled. Ms. Walker, if you need to re-ask the question, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Blake told you to grow up and do your job.
Yes, well, he was having very busy at the time. He was going through a divorce and he probably was very frustrated at the time.
Right, Mr. Durst, and you felt betrayed.
Yes, I was very emotional at the time.
So
As
you
I said,
decided,
he was a second family to me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Durst. And you decided to search for a new job at Terrace Greenery, the rival of Lush Fertilizer.
Well, as I've said before, straight out of college, I started working for Lush, and fertilizer is basically all I've done in my professional career, and it's what I'm good at, and it was a natural progression to go work for another company that does fertilizer.
Right. And isn't it true that Terrace Greenery, whom you work for, is about to release a fertilizer that you claim will rival Lush Fertilizer?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
This is a yes or no question, Mr. Durst. Isn't it true that Terrace Greenery is about to release a fertilizer you claim will rival Lush Fertilizer?
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Durst. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
And we'll have redirect here in just a moment. And Ms. Garcia, redirecting your witness.
No, Your Honor, no redirect.
Without redirect, there is no recross, of course. Mr. Durst, you are excused. Thank you very much. And we have for the plaintiff, Ms. Mertz is going to present the next witness, who is Dr. Casey Rogers. We have Ms. Blake is going to cross-exam. Ms. Mertz, if you could call your witness.
We call Dr. Rogers to the stand, Your Honor.
And Dr. Rogers, you have already been sworn, as I have indicated earlier. Ms. Mertz, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state and spell your last name for the jury.
Dr. Casey Rogers, Rogers.
Here today, Dr. Rogers.
What was that question?
Here today, Dr. Rogers.
I am here today to testify on behalf. What was that? I am here today to testify on behalf of the plaintiff of this case, Dakota Weirs.
And what is your relationship with this case?
I have been retained to speak on my findings on the chemical Drufo.
What do you do for a living, Dr. Rogers?
I am a professor at the University of California at Berkeley, and I teach horticulture and entomology.
What is horticulture?
It is the study of growing plants.
And what is entomology?
Entomology is the study of insects.
What schooling did you need in order to be in this line of work?
I received my bachelor's in agriculture and chemistry from CSU and my PhD in horticulture and entomology from the University of California at Berkeley.
Did you do anything else besides your bachelor's and PhD?
Before my PhD, I was a research analyst for a multinational chemical company.
Do you have any published work?
Yes, I have 6 articles in total, 4 relating to Drufo and 2 relating to carcinogenicity.
What is carcinogenicity?
It is the ability or tendency to produce cancer.
What was the article relating to carcinogenicity about?
It was about the relationship between Drufo and carcinogenicity.
Your Honor, at this time, under Rule 702, we offer Dr. Rogers as an expert in pesticide chemistry and carcinogenicity.
excuse me. You're limiting of the things she said to chemistry and carcinogens, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
And excuse me. Excuse me. Ms. Blake, any response? What's your position on qualifying this witness? Any objection to chemistry?
No objection to chemistry, Your Honor. May I request a brief voir dire on carcinogenicity?
Absolutely. I'm not sure that's a word, but I know what you mean. Either one of you. I'm not sure that's a word, but my old minor in English has just triggered my head, but go right ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Williams, do you have any medical education?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Dr. Rogers.
Pardon me. Yes. Dr. Rogers, do you have any medical education?
I am not a medical doctor, correct?
And do you have any specific medical expertise?
No, I do not.
Have you worked in a specific medical field?
No, I have not.
And have you had any specific medical training?
No, I have not.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Your Honor, though I would object to the witness's expertise in carcinogens because although toxicology is a fair area to be tendered in, she has not demonstrated any specific medical skill, knowledge, education, experience, or training. And I would argue that carcinogens, being the incredibly nuanced subject that it is, would fall under that medical expertise that she has not demonstrated.
And Ms. Mertz?
Your Honor, my witness is not going to speak on anything medical. They are strictly speaking on the tendency to produce cancer. That does not necessarily mean in the medical field.
Okay, here's what I'm going to rule on, or ruling. We don't have any problem, although I don't think there's going to be any significant testimony about chemistry per se. She can be, or she is qualified without objection as to her expertise, Dr. Rogers, in chemistry. As to testifying regarding carcinogens, although whether someone has cancer is a medical opinion, if the fact of cancer is established and the cause of cancer, which is a toxin, can be caused by toxins, that's how I'm going to qualify this witness. She can testify as to toxicity or toxins as they cause cancer. So she can rely on a doctor saying, yep, that person has cancer. And then this witness could testify hypothetically, yep, it was caused by this toxin, because it is a toxin that causes cancer. The fact that someone has cancer is a medical opinion. The other is an opinion for this type of expert. So I'll qualify her in the area of carcinogens caused toxins that are carcinogens. So if all that's understood, sorry to go on so long, the objection is overruled. Ms. Mertz, you may continue with Dr. Rogers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Rogers, have you studied any particular pesticides?
Yes, I've studied Drufo.
What is Drufo?
Drufo is a bonding agent used in fertilizer.
What is a bonding agent?
It is a specific chemical used in fertilizers to keep the product preserved and intact.
What made you so interested in Drufo?
I had heard reports on it, so I wanted to see for myself and did tests.
What situations can Drufo be toxic?
Drufo can be toxic to those who aren't wearing proper protective gear and are exposed to the chemical for a long period of time. Proper protective gear meaning long pants, long sleeve shirt, and a proper face covering.
What did you do to test Drufo on its harmful effects?
I conducted a study with 3 groups. The control group being people who had never been exposed to Drufo, the other group being people who had been exposed on an occasional basis to Drufo, and the last group being people who had been exposed on a regular basis to Drufo.
And
What were your findings?
if we could pause for a second, the time being off, I would prefer all of the, each of the attorneys and the witness to have their microphones active at all times. I'm afraid I'm going to miss something with someone cutting off a microphone. So whoever is in charge of microphones, turn them on. And Ms. Blake, you as well. Good enough. Thank you. Let's proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Rogers, what were your findings in that study?
I found that people who had been exposed to Drufo on a regular basis were 10 times more likely to receive a diagnosis of cancer.
Diagnosis of what kind of cancer?
Endocrine and endocrine-based variants, including non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Dr. Rogers, would you mind explaining to the jury in a very general sense of what non-Hodgkin lymphoma is and how someone might get it?
Non-Hodgkin lymphoma is a non-hereditary disease. It is an environmental cause disease, meaning you can get it from being exposed to a toxic chemical for a long period of time.
And how does this affect the immune system?
It attacks your white blood cells or your lymphocytes, and it causes you to become immunocompromised, meaning you can become sicker, faster, and easier.
Objection.
How fast?
Your Honor. This is outside of the scope of the witness's expertise.
And Ms. Mertz?
Your Honor, Dr. Rogers is being asked how it affects the immune system. This was found in the research that they did with their study. And so it's not something that, oh, I'm sorry.
You'll need to lay a foundation with Dr. Rogers then.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
That was part of her research, that medical issue.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Rogers, what did you discover while
We're
doing
getting
this?
all of a sudden we're getting an echo somewhere. And
I think it's the witnesses on our team. So if whoever is at the computer could mute when they are not speaking.
okay, let's stop time. The witness is in the same room that you are in.
They're in a different room, but it is echoing, sir.
All right, well, that's why the microphones are getting turned on and off, and now I understand. Okay. So whoever is turning microphones on and off, forget what I said earlier. Turn, activate the ORCID attorney and ORCID witnesses microphones only if they are speaking. Ms. Blake, you may leave yours on, however. So let's proceed that way. My fault. Let's go forward.
Thank you, Your Honor. Moving on, Dr. Rogers. What is the survival rate of non-Hodgkin lymphoma study?
Non-Hodgkin lymphoma has a 72% chance of a 5-year survival rate.
Dr. Casey, in your expert opinion, does Drufo cause cancer?
I have reason to believe that it does.
Was there anything that you reviewed before being retained as an expert?
Yes, I reviewed Dakota's medical records.
Was there anything else that you took into consideration about the diagnosis?
Before Dakota's diagnosis, I took into consideration her day-to-day life and her habits.
Dr. Casey, in your expert opinion, what was a probable cause of Dakota's non-Hodgkin lymphoma?
I have reason to believe that prolonged exposure to Drufo was a probable cause of Dakota Weir's cancer.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. And give me just a moment and we'll have Cross here. Okay, and Ms. Blake, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Dr. Rogers.
Good afternoon.
Now, this is your first time testifying as an expert witness, is that correct?
That is correct, but my work has been admitted into court before.
But you're hoping this is not your last time testifying as an expert witness.
That is correct. I would like to help out with more cases.
So if this case goes the way it should, you assume it'll open the door to similar class action lawsuits.
Objection,
That is
speculation.
correct.
Response, Your Honor?
Ms. Blake,
This is directly from the witness's testimony. She says, quote, if this case goes the way it should, end quote, it will open the door to class action lawsuits.
and Ms. Mertz.
Your Honor, my witness cannot assume anything. That is what the opposing counsel was asking her to do.
All right, I'm going to overrule the objection, although in another context, the objection might be appropriate. This goes toward her credibility as to why she is testifying here. Not that she's speculating that it will happen, but she's hoping it will, and that is an issue of credibility. The jury will have to decide. Overruled, Ms. Blake. You may, if you need to re-ask the question, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. Rogers, if this case goes the way it should, you assume it will open the door to similar class action lawsuits.
That's correct.
And you will be on the forefront of that battle.
I would like to be, yes.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. I'd like to move on to your study. First of all, you mentioned that there were not sufficient studies conducted on Drufo's safety. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And yet you were not involved in the development of Drufo?
No, I was not.
And you were not involved in any testing of Drufo?
Not besides my own, no.
And so you researched Drufo, correct?
That's right, yes.
And you did the same with other potentially harmful substances?
I have in the past, but in this case, I've only studied Drufo.
And yet nowhere in your witness statement do you mention the names of the other potentially harmful substances that you studied.
That is because the case has nothing to do with them. It only has to revolve around Drufo.
Sure. And so moving forward, you also note that you had been hearing reports on the potentially negative effects of Drufo. Is that also correct?
Yes, it is.
And yet nowhere in your witness statement do you note where you had heard these reports?
I do not.
And nowhere in your witness statement do you note who had written these reports?
That is because, that's right, yes.
Or when those reports were published?
No, I did not.
And so you conducted your own study, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And you followed people who were exposed to Drufo over long periods of time, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And yet nowhere in your statement do you note how long periods of time is?
No, I do not.
Nowhere do you detail how large the groups were that you studied?
I don't.
In fact, you only chose to share your conclusion of the study, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And I'd like to talk about that. You come to the ultimate conclusion that Dakota Weir's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma was caused by Drufo. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And you come to this conclusion based on a high degree of medical probability.
Yes.
And nowhere in your statement do you detail any medical credentials?
I do not.
And so you still felt comfortable coming to this conclusion despite that?
I did because that's what my study showed.
Based on a high degree of medical probability?
Yes,
And am I correct in saying that nowhere in your statement do you detail whether your study has been replicated?
you're correct. Yes,
And nowhere in your witness statement do you detail whether your study has been peer reviewed?
it has not been peer reviewed. No.
Thank you. Dr. Rogers, I'd like to take a step back and look at some technicalities. As part of your study, you also examined ways to mitigate and prevent exposure to Drufo. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
And you found that overall, those exposed to Drufo were primarily exposed by breathing in the product.
Yes,
And it can also be absorbed by the skin.
yes,
And to reduce these risks of absorption, a user can wear long pants, for example.
yes,
They can wear long sleeves
yes,
or a medical grade protective face mask.
correct.
Dr. Rogers, were you present for Dakota Weirs' testimony today?
Yes, I was.
And did you hear her say that did you hear her say that she took none of these protective measures?
Yes, I did.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Thank you. All right, we'll have redirect here in just a moment. Let me get back to my list. And Ms. Mertz, redirect.
Briefly, Your Honor.
Dr. Rogers,
Did you study any medical details while you were working?
I studied how Drufo can be carcinogenic.
And what field is carcinogenic relating to? In this case, sorry.
Cancer. Oh, sorry. It's relating to cancer.
And what have you studied pertaining to cancer?
I'm sorry. I don't know what you mean by that question.
I'm sorry, I'll rephrase. What You know what, Your Honor, no further questions. Thank you.
All right. And Ms. Blake, any recross?
No recross, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. And Dr. Rogers, your testimony is concluded. You are excused. And for the plaintiff, Ms. Delgado, do we have any additional witnesses?
no, Your Honor, the plaintiff rests.
Thank you very much. And we will, in a moment, we will have the defense case. And I believe, give me a moment here. Ms. Shapiro, you're up first. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Mr. Blake Doncourt to the stand.
Thank you. And we have, excuse me, Ms. Delgado, we have you for the defense counsel on cross. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Just give me just a moment. And Mr. Doncourt, you have already been sworn. Ms. Shapiro, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Doncourt. Can you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hello, my name is Blake Doncourt. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm a business person and passionate environmentalist.
Tell us more about your business.
I am the CEO of Lush Fertilizer Incorporated. We are a globally recognized brand that is known for our innovative products that go to protect our environment.
Now, what inspired you to start Lush Fertilizer Incorporated?
Well, way back in the day, I was walking around the Flatirons and I was astonished by the beauty that surrounded me, and it inspired me to start Lush Fertilizer Incorporated back in 2000. What started off as a small business suddenly grew into an empire, but my passion for the environment has always stayed the same.
How does your business intersect with your passion for the environment?
Well, at Lush, we work with the environment.
Relevance?
I'm sorry, is there an objection?
Yes, sir. Objection relevance?
And Ms. Shapiro?
Yes, Your Honor, this testimony is relevant pursuant to Rule 401 because it is probative of the culture at Lush Incorporated. It is the defense's theory of the case that Drufo does not cause non-Hodgkin lymphoma. So this testimony is probative of the fact that Mr. Doncourt fostered a safe company environment. And yes.
Ms. Delgado?
Your Honor, his passion does not relate to cancer. So it's not relevant.
I understand the issue. I'm going to give Ms. Shapiro a little latitude here so that Mr. Doncourt can explain his company's purpose. There has been an allegation that he is poisoning the public. So I'm going to give him an opportunity to indicate the culture of his company. It's not wide latitude, but Ms. Shapiro, you can go a little further.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm sorry, could you please repeat the question?
Yes, of course, Mr. Doncourt. How does your business intersect with your passion for the environment?
Well, at Lush, we think with the environment at the forefront of our mind. And that's why we donate 10% of all of our profits to charities that go to protect our environment.
Now, is this work paying off?
Well, I have won several awards, but even more than that, this work has been and always will be really close to my heart. I would say I have two main priorities in life, and that's protecting our environment and producing safe, high quality products.
How do you ensure that Lush's products are safe?
Well, like I said, I'm a business person and I'm not a scientist. So I rely on my colleagues in the science department to test all of our products and report the results back to me.
Now, did you hear Carson Durst's testimony in court today?
I did.
Now, did he ever bring these concerns directly to you?
Not once.
What is your relationship like with Mr. Durst?
I look at Carson like
Objection, relevance?
And Ms. Shapiro?
Your Honor, Mr. Durst's previous testimony has opened the door for this line of questioning.
Concerning that relationship?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I'm sorry, Ms. Delgado.
I stand by my objection, Your Honor.
The objection's overruled. I believe even if the door were not opened, the testimony from other witnesses about the credibility or about the basis for credibility is always relevant. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll re-ask the question, Mr. Doncourt. What is your relationship like with Mr. Durst?
I think I was saying that I look at Carson like a son. I mean, I guess I used to. And that's why his decision to go to work for Terra, our biggest rival, is so harmful to me. And now to testify to these awful allegations in court today, I mean, it's hard for me to reconcile with.
Did anyone ever report to you that Lush fertilizer or any of Lush's ingredients were unsafe?
No, and I want to make it clear that we are in the business of working with chemicals that are inherently toxic, but I was never alerted to anything specifically dangerous about any one of our products. I mean, I couldn't live with myself if I knew that one of my products could cause harm. We always took smart precautions.
What do you mean by smart precautions?
Well, I mean, of course, we did plenty of testing on all of our products, and we also put user recommendation labels on every one of our products that we hope our customers will follow.
Were there any precautions that you could have taken and chose not to?
I mean, I suppose we could have baked the products.
Why didn't you?
To be honest, none of the data pointed to anything uniquely dangerous in any one of our products. Speaking from a business perspective, baking the fertilizer would have been costly and it would have solved an issue that wasn't there to begin with. Basically, a cost-benefit analysis showed that there was no benefit to baking the products in the first place.
Okay, thank you. Now, changing topics a little bit, what was your reaction to hearing about Dakota Weirs' sickness?
I mean, I was shocked that there would
Objection
be.
relevance?
Ms. Shapiro.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Doncourt's shock and surprise of this news of Dakota Weirs' sickness is probative of the fact that no information was ever presented to him that would suggest causation between Drufo and non-Hodgkin lymphoma.
Ms. Mertz. I'm sorry, Ms. Delgado. I'm sorry.
His shocked reaction is not relevant to his product and whether it caused cancer or not.
I'm going to allow the testimony. I understand the objection, but I believe Ms. Shapiro has a good point that it is not his personal reaction of shock as opposed to what he may have ordered the company to do later, but the fact that there was no other evidence would be a surprise to him because there was no other evidence. Shock may be a little stronger term, but if that's what he felt, I'll allow it. Overruled. Ms. Shapiro, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll re-ask the question for you, Mr. Doncourt. What was your reaction to hearing about Dakota Weirs' sickness?
As I was saying, I was shocked that there would be even an idea that Drufo could be linked to Miss Weir's disease. But I mean, even more than that, I felt terrible. I mean, I have kids of my own, and I don't know what we would do if one of them was in that situation.
Mr. Doncourt, we are here today because Miss Weirs believes that her sickness is Lush's fault. What was your reaction to this accusation?
I can't emphasize this enough. I don't have any hard feelings towards Miss Weirs for any of this. She's in a vulnerable and frankly impossible situation. I mean, these greedy expert witnesses and slimy lawyers are in court here.
Mr. Doncourt, I hate to interrupt you, and I understand that this is a highly emotional situation, but please try to limit your response to my question. What was your reaction to this accusation?
My apologies, Ms. Shapiro. It's just hard for me to contain my emotions at a time like this. Look, all of Lush's products are safe. I understand that Miss Weirs wants answers, and we want answers too, but the answer is not to blame my innocent company that I've worked so hard to create and maintain. The fact of the matter is, we need to separate the truth from the tragedy in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Doncourt. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
And let me get back to my list. Ms. Delgado, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Doncourt.
Good afternoon.
You are, oh, I'm sorry. You are the CEO of Lush Fertilizer, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And your most important product is also called Lush Fertilizer, right?
It is one of our most innovative products, but we have all sorts of products out there that are amazing.
And one of the key ingredients in Lush Fertilizer is something called Drufo, right?
That is correct.
Your company developed Drufo, didn't it?
Yes, they did.
It'd be fair to say you're very familiar with Drufo, right?
Yes, we spent lots of time in the lab with it, yes.
Mr. Doncourt, would you say safety is important to you?
I would say the foundation of my company is making sure that we produce safe products for both our users and the environment.
And because safety is important to you, you've developed protocols to ensure the safety of every product you make. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
As part of this process, you told Carson Durst to research the safety of Drufo. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is correct.
As part of his research, Carson found a study linking Drufo to cancer in rats, right?
He never came to me with any concerns about that at the time, no.
But he was told to record every finding in a lab notebook. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And he, in fact, put this study in a lab notebook. That's right, right?
It never made its way back to me. I was never notified of anything that could link our product to cancer.
Yet your product manager, Jerry Langley, reviewed that notebook regularly, right?
I'm not sure. I'm sure he did. I have amazing employees, but I was never alerted to anything carcinogenic about any of our products.
So would you say that any leadership or authority in your company was aware of this study?
I was not. No, no one ever alerted me of any of this.
So is that a yes or no, Mr. Doncourt?
No, I was not aware.
Mr. Doncourt, that was not the question.
I'm sorry.
Oh, would you like me to restate it?
Yes, please.
So so leadership in your company was aware of this study,
I
not
was,
you.
as the CEO and I guess the boss, I was never alerted to anything that was carcinogenic about any of our products.
Yet someone else of authority was aware.
Objection. This question calls for speculation.
Ms. Delgado?
Mr. Doncourt is CEO of this company, therefore he should be aware of anything that is going on.
Ms. Shapiro?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Doncourt has stated repeatedly that he was not made aware of this study by Carson Durst, and he cannot speculate to exactly who in his company was aware of it. He can only testify to his own experiences.
I'm going to overrule the objection. You're right that he can't, Mr. Doncourt can't testify as any specific individual, but that wasn't the question. The question was whether anyone in authority below him was aware of this, and he can testify to the chain of command in his company. If he's going to testify that no one in his company, even though presented with a report, or how reports are created and distributed in his company, that he has no knowledge of any of that, of what's going on in his own company as far as both chain of command and chain of information, well, he can testify to that. But my guess is that's not the case. So I'm going to allow the question as to whether or not he is aware that this information was available to other people in his company and authority. So overruled. I've kind of gone on about that. If the witness can answer, you may. If you'd like the question repeated by Ms. Delgado, you can have it repeated.
Yes.
My apologies. I understand the question now. I nor anyone below me of any sort of command was aware that Mr. Durst possessed this knowledge, or I was never alerted that anyone below me knew that Mr. Durst possessed this knowledge. If that answers your question.
Now, Mr. Doncourt, you said earlier that there was a process of Carson journaling in his notebook and his review manager to review it, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So are you saying that your product manager went against this process?
All I am saying is that I was never alerted that any of our products were unsafe. I'm not sure what other people in my company knew, but I was never personally alerted to any of this.
All right, moving on then. Right, so after Carson Durst found the study related to rats, you tasked your research team with studying the link between Jurfo and human beings, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Your research team found that Jurfo potentially contained a carcinogen, correct?
As I've said, none of this information about any of our products being carcinogenic made their way back to me. I do not know.
Why is that, Mr. Doncourt?
I guess somebody in my team didn't alert me of that. It is their job to alert me of that, and I was never made aware. I'm not a scientist. I'm the CEO of the company.
Are you saying that you're that your research team may not be as environmentally conscious as you?
No, all I'm saying is that I was never alerted to anything particularly dangerous about our products.
So moving on, Mr. Doncourt. You said before that any and all risk that could have been found could have been eliminated by baking Drufo. Is that right?
That is correct.
You were aware that baking, sorry, but you didn't bake Drufo, did you?
There was really no reason to, as the risk was minimal, very, very minimal.
You did price out how much it would cost to bake Drufo. Is that accurate?
Yes, I did price that out as well.
And you decided that the cost was too high. Is that right?
The cost was too high to solve a problem that wasn't there to begin with.
You also didn't include anything about cancer on Drufo's warning, right?
Drufo does not cause cancer. Nothing in my research team has pointed to anything dangerous within Drufo.
Yeah, any minute risk was not included on the warning either, right?
We did have a recommendation label that said to cover your body when you use the products, as it may cause irritation.
No further questions, Your Honor.
And Ms. Shapiro, redirect.
Briefly, Your Honor. Mr. Doncourt, why do you think that you were never alerted to any carcinogen in your product by your research team?
Objection, speculation.
And Ms. Shapiro?
Your Honor, my redirect is within the scope of the cross-examination that was just given by opposing counsel. Opposing counsel focused a lot on the relationship between Mr. Doncourt as the CEO and the people on the research team, since Mr. Doncourt is not a scientist. Therefore, this question is to allow Mr. Doncourt to have a little bit more leeway in explaining why he thinks that this chain of command did not deliver the results that the plaintiff is suggesting.
In order to get that answer, you're going to have to lay some foundation for what that chain of command was, what his communication was, because all he testified was nobody told me anything. So you're going to have to establish with foundation what communication he did have with those people. And then you may ask him that question, if you wish.
Yes, Your Honor, I will rephrase the question. Mr. Doncourt, can you explain to us in a bit more detail how the chain of command works at Lush?
Yes, so my research team tests all of our products. And if there is an issue with one of our products, then I am alerted of it and I ultimately make the final decision on what to do with the product.
And do you trust your research team to report to you if there's an issue?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Doncourt. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions for this witness.
And Ms. Delgado, any recross on that matter?
Yes, Your Honor, a very brief one. So, Mr. Doncourt, you said that you would be notified of any and all concerns, correct?
That is correct.
And yet your research team did not notify you of Carson Dersh's findings, correct?
That is correct. That's because there was no issue with that at the time.
No further questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Doncourt, that concludes your testimony. You are excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And we will have the next witness, which I believe, Ms. Walker, you have the next witness for the defendant. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Skylar Weirs to the stand.
And we have, give me a moment here. Ms. Garcia, you are cross-examining for the plaintiff. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And for our witness, Skylar Weirs, ma'am, you have been sworn, and Ms. Walker, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Weirs. Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Of course. Good afternoon. My name is Skylar Weirs. I'm an investigative journalist for the Rationalist magazine, and I am also Dakota Weirs' twin.
Could you describe your relationship with your twin, Dakota?
Of course. So I love Dakota very much. However, when I chose to forego college, Dad was not super happy and he cut me off. Because of that, I don't really get the chance to see Dakota very often, and our lives just kept us from having a closer relationship.
Right. So, Ms. Weirs, why are you here today testifying against your own sibling?
Well, as I said, I love Dakota very much, but I just can't support her claim that Drufo is the cause of her cancer.
Thank you. Ms. Weirs, could you describe what your role is as an investigative journalist?
Of course. So as an investigative journalist, I write educated articles for the Rationalist magazine right now on topics that are assigned to me. The articles are based on information that I personally research. I find this research through interviews, experiences, and extensive research that I find online and in books. I read papers, I read articles, I read studies, basically anything I can find that I use to lay out the knowledge for my readers.
And could you elaborate on what types of research and articles you personally have constructed?
Yes. So technically, I am a freelance writer. However, as I said, I'm currently working for the Rationalist magazine. I've published numerous articles for the Rationalist that question the narrative that there's a causal link between Drufo and cancer.
And about how long would you say you've researched Drufo and other fertilizers?
My research is extremely thorough. For this specific series of articles, I spent, give or take, about a year. I spent months preparing, researching. I connected with sources for these articles. I was given 100 words in print, and I used every single one of them.
Now, where did most of your research and information come from, Ms. Weirs?
So for this case, I started all of my research from various agritech companies. Agritech is agricultural technology. I tracked down the research studies that were referenced in papers released by those companies, and I found a wealth of information. Some of that information came from those companies, those publications, those studies. I also found information from the United States Department of Agritech or Agriculture, and then the National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. Additionally, I got some information specific to cancer from the International Agency on the Research of Cancer.
At this time, Your Honor, I would like to tender Skylar Weirs as an expert witness in the fields of modern agricultural technology and the agricultural technology industry.
And Ms. Garcia, we've got two areas, agricultural technology and the agricultural industry. Do you object to either or both of those to qualify this witness?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection? Thank you. Then the witness will be qualified in agricultural technology and the agricultural industry based on the research that she did. Ms. Walker, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Weirs, could you elaborate on some of the work that you do for the Rationalist?
Of course. So for the Rationalist, I publish articles that focus on science education and science advocacy. We basically fight pseudoscience.
And what types of articles exactly? Could you give me some examples?
Yes. So as I said, I wrote on Drufo, and that was part of a series that I wrote on GMOs and agricultural technology or agritech. And I've also written on vaccines. I've written on climate change. I've just written on a lot of things that have a lot of controversy in the scientific world.
So why is Drufo considered controversial?
Well, Drufo and lush fertilizers is a breakthrough in the agricultural technology fields.
And Ms. Weirs, based on your expertise, what does that mean for the industry?
So many other companies, because of how much of a breakthrough Drufo is, could considerably and conceivably be interested in harming the reputation of Lush Fertilizer, the creators of Drufo.
Right, Ms. Wares. You mentioned that other companies might be trying to destroy the reputation. Why is that?
Well, Drufo is kind of like GMO crops in the sense that it significantly reduces the need for other fertilizers. Less fertilizers mean less chemicals needed to achieve optimum yield. Lush created an incredibly effective bonding agent.
Could you describe a bit about the science around how Drufo works?
Yes. So, like I said, Drufo is a bonding agent. It bonds the grass to the active ingredients that exist in Lush fertilizer. Those are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So, Drufo prevents these active ingredients through bonding it to the grass from being washed away into groundwater and other water sources. This protects the earth and anyone who's interacting with that water.
And how would Drufo compare to other fertilizers?
So, because of the success of Drufo in the bonding agent section, Lush fertilizer only needs to be applied once or twice a year, while other fertilizers need to be applied 5 to 6 times to achieve the same nitrogen yield.
So, what does this less application process mean?
Well, it just means that Drufo, compared to other fertilizers, it's better. It lessens the need significantly to be applied, and it makes it safe, if not more safe, than competitors' products.
And if you have not found any studies regarding Drufo's potential harm, what other chemicals have caught your attention?
So part of my research with within the International Agency for Research on Cancer, I found that a lot of other pesticides include arsenic and glyphosate, which have been labeled respectively as carcinogenic or possibly carcinogenic.
And finally, Ms. Weers, based on all of the research that you've done as an investigative journalist, have you found any studies that claim Drufo is carcinogenic?
In all of my research, I found not a single article or study or paper or report which linked non-Hodgkin lymphoma to Drufo with any real basis, no.
Thank you, Ms. Weers. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
Thank you. Give me just a moment. And Ms. Garcia, cross-exam.
Yes, Your Honor. Hello, Ms. Weers. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. I'd like to start off by talking about your job. Ms. Weers, you're an investigative journalist, correct?
Yes, I am.
And did you go to college or receive any type of license for this job?
No, I chose to forgo college because I had a very successful first article.
Sure, but you received no formal training, correct?
No, I did not go to college.
And Ms. Weers, how old are you?
I'm 20 years old today, or not currently, sorry. Today's not my birthday.
And how long have you been working as an investigative journalist?
For about, give or take, 3 years.
And Ms. Weers, the basis for your supposed expertise is based on a series of articles on modern agri-tech written by you, right?
Yes, I did a lot of research. Sorry.
And how long did the research for the articles take?
I spent about a year researching.
Objection, Your Honor.
And the objection is?
I believe this witness has already been testified as an expert in these fields.
Been qualified as an expert, yes. But as far as the jury will decide what her credibility is. So even though those same credentials may qualify her as a witness, the jury, if Ms. Garcia wishes to impress the jury with other credentials, she may do so. So overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Weers, would you like me to restate the question?
Yes, I'm so sorry. I completely blanked.
How long did the research for the articles take?
I spent about a year researching for them.
And the research conducted by you was by reading publications issued by other agri-tech companies, reviewing research studies and information by the USDA and the NASDA, correct?
Yes, among other things, that was part of my research.
And that year of studies wasn't only focused on DRUFO. You also studied GMOs, the Monsanto crisis, corn, and other agri-tech subjects, right?
Yes.
So of that, about a year you spent researching on your articles, only a small portion of time was spent on DRUFO.
I spent about as much time on Drupal as I did on any other subject that I wrote about. Yes.
And to get all of this information, you only read others' research.
I'm so sorry. You cut out halfway through. Can you repeat that?
Yes, I'm sorry. And to get all of this information, you only read others' research, correct?
Yes. In order to get all my information, I was online and I was finding anything and everything I could that pertained to the subject at hand.
But you didn't actually conduct any studies yourself, did you?
No, I'm not a scientist.
And you didn't perform any specific analyses, did you?
No, again, I'm not a scientist.
Moving on, I would like to talk to you about DRUFO. Ms. Weirs, commercial pesticides have several well-known carcinogens, don't they?
Yes, they do.
And pesticides are designed to be poisonous, aren't they?
Yes, their entire job is to kill organisms that are not helpful for grass seeds in fertilizer's case.
Yes, and your definition for pesticides is that they are poison, right?
Yes.
And DRUFO is a pesticide, isn't it?
Yes. However, Drufo, because of the only needing to be applied once or twice a year thing, is less poisonous for the earth and therefore for all of the water sources.
But it's still poisonous in some way.
Yes, all fertilizers are.
DRUFO is also an incredibly effective bonding agent between nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, correct?
Drufo works to bond nitrogen to grass.
So this means that DRUFO prevents lush fertilizer from washing off the plants and grasses when it's being used, right?
It prevents the nitrogen in lush fertilizer, yes.
This would also mean that the fertilizer is applied less often then, right?
Yes.
And it also means that much less of the fertilizer would need to be used, right?
Yes.
But you don't know exactly how much was being used by Dakota, do you?
I just know what I heard from Dakota.
Objection. This is outside of the scope of my witness's expertise.
Ms. Garcia?
Your Honor, I'm asking if she knew whether Dakota used it or how much was being used by Dakota, not anything specifically relating to a field that she is not an expert in.
Ms. Walker?
I believe that Skylar Weirs has testified that she does not know what Dakota's jobs entail, and her expertise lie in the agricultural technology industry. Therefore, she has no personal knowledge as to how much lush fertilizer Dakota was using.
Ms. Garcia, if that is the fact, then if that's what the facts have shown, I'm going to sustain that objection. Is that your understanding, that this witness has no knowledge, or can you lay a foundation that she does have that knowledge?
Your Honor, I'll move on.
All right, thank you.
And Ms. Weirs, it's possible that DRUFO causes cancer, correct?
Nitrogen has been known to cause some forms of cancer, yes. However, because of the lessened yield, I found no research that showed that Drufo could cause cancer, no.
But you don't know for a fact that it causes cancer, do you?
I'm not a scientist, but in all of my research, I found no causal link between the two.
Ms. Weirs, you have a copy of your statement in front of you. May you please turn to pay, give me 1 second. Sorry about the wait. Ms. Weirs, you have a copy of your statement in front of you. May you please turn to page 38, lines 82 and 83?
80 to 83, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
Please read along with me. While the research on whether Drufa causes cancer, like non-Hodgkin lymphoma, it is inconclusive at best. Did I read that correctly?
You did, but if you'll notice the end of that sentence goes, there's a much clearer causal link between these other pesticides and cancer, the pesticides I mentioned in my direct.
Yes, I realize that, but you did say that it is inconclusive.
Inconclusive because I found no mention of it, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
And Ms. Walker, redirect.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Without redirect, then there is no recross. Ms. Weirs, your testimony is concluded. You are excused. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And give me just a moment. And we have our final witness, I believe, is through Ms. Blake. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And we have Ms. Mertz for cross-examination. Yes, we do. And Ms. Blake, if you'd call your witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Dr. Devin Williams to the stand.
And Dr. Williams, you have already been sworn. Ms. Blake, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Dr. Williams.
Good afternoon.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Devin Williams. I lead the Toxicology Research and Development Labs at Lush Fertilizer.
Could you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, I am a toxicologist by training, and I initially started working for Lush about 10 years ago. I've also been leading the labs for about 7 of my 10 years now, and I'm also the outgoing chair of my company's ethics committee.
And what do you do as a research toxicologist?
Well, upon my research, I use my work to better understand how biological systems respond to environmental interventions. Some examples of that include alcohol and neurochemical pathways and, inorganic compounds in agriculture enhancing organophosphorus products. Through my training and experience, I know how to research, analyze, and evaluate test results in order to determine the fate and effects of potentially toxic chemical agents through biomolecular and biochemical markers.
Could you tell us more?
Yes. Well, basically, this means I know how to tell if a substance is going to harm the average human and how to neutralize any potential harm. Most of my work is data-driven. However, I'm often asked to postulate as to broader outcomes that can be derived from my data sets.
And how did you come to be a research toxicologist?
Well, I received my PhD from Colorado State University in Fort Collins, and I also did a postgraduate program in pharmacotoxicology at the University of Utah. I also hold these certifications in the states of Colorado and Utah, as well as Wyoming and New Mexico.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Your Honor, I now tender Dr. Devin Williams as an expert in the fields of research analysis, biological systems, and toxicology.
So we've got research, just the technique of research analysis, toxicology, and what was the third area?
Yes, Your Honor, biological systems.
And Ms. Mertz, any objection to any three or any of those three or any and all of them?
No objection to any of them, Your Honor.
Then I will qualify Dr. Williams as an expert in general research analysis techniques, biological systems, and toxicology. Ms. Blake, you may continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now, Dr. Williams, you mentioned you work for Lush Fertilizer. What is your main role at that company?
Well, I was initially employed as a technician. However, I was later promoted to lead the labs, largely to oversee our work on the environmental impacts of our products.
Could you tell us about Lush's fertilizer?
Yes, of course. Well, to start broadly, fertilizer actually enhances the growth of plants, either by adding nutrients or by enhancing the effectiveness of the soil by modifying its water retention and aeration. Specific to lush fertilizer, the product perfectly straddles these two components while staying environmentally friendly due to the composition of Drufo.
Could you tell us what Drufo is?
Well, in order to understand Drufo, we must first understand that, in short, Drufo protects against nitrate pollution. Basically, any unused nitrogen gets converted into nitrates by bacteria in the soil. Those nitrates then get carried off into streams and lakes due to rain and irrigation runoff.
What happens after that?
Well, those nitrates then accumulate within these water sources. They create dense algae blooms, reducing the amount of oxygen in the water, and as a result, killing the fish and also becoming harmful to humans.
And what is Drufo's role in this process?
Well, what Drufo does is it actually binds to the ingredients in the fertilizer to the grass or other plants that are being sprayed. That way, less fertilizer needs to be sprayed and less washes away into the soil. That way, the eutrophication process or the accumulation of those nitrates gets cut off at the very beginning.
And have there been any negative reactions to Drufo?
Well, to my understanding, Drufo has been banned in the EU. However, that is only specific to the European Union's nitrate directive.
And what does the European Union's nitrate directive mean?
Well, it basically says that no new fertilizer can be used that contributes to more than the incidental nitrate accumulation in lab tests. Although Drufo greatly reduces that accumulation under real-world conditions, there's still nitrogen in it, thus the ban.
And why didn't Lush choose to fight this EU decision?
Well, in theory, Lush could have fought the EU decision. However, it was a brand new company back then with very limited resources. It just seemed easier to produce a line of products without Drufo to be sold in countries that prohibited it.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. I'd like to take a step back. The plaintiff claims that Drufo causes non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Well, the use of Drufo has not been correlated with a statistically significant increase in the incidence of non-Hodgkin's or any other cancer.
Could you expand on that?
Well, the way we answer this question is through statistics. You can look at the incidence rate for people who have used fertilizers with Drufo and compare that to the incidence rate for people who have used fertilizers without Drufo.
What else goes into the statistics?
Well, you need to account for the random element. If you take a large group of people who have used fertilizers with Drufo, some of them will just naturally develop non-Hodgkin's. And, that can be from medical history, other environmental factors, or, just by pure chance. We cannot account for that in the statistical increase in the chance of getting cancer from Drufo. I would also like to add that, the bigger the sample, the larger the amount of people in the sample that just have non-Hodgkin's. Not meaning that there's anything causing more non-Hodgkin's, it just means that there are more people in the sample.
Dr. Williams, would you be able to condense your analysis into 1 or 2 sentences for us?
Well, the data that we analyzed all came in below a normal confidence level, meaning all the data that we looked at was consistent of users of Drufo fertilizer not having an elevated risk of non-Hodgkin's compared to other fertilizer users.
Now, Dr. Williams, you note that the risk of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is not higher in users of fertilizers with Drufo as compared to users of other fertilizers. Why do you make this choice?
Well, you need to compare something like apples to apples here. In terms of fertilizer consumption, you can't compare, farm laborers to gardeners. That would be like comparing apples to Toyotas, which is super dangerous in the scientific world.
What's the danger of comparing apples to Toyotas?
Well, farm laborers, gardeners, and the population that don't do either of those things typically have different lifestyles. Different lifestyles mean different environments, and different environments mean different environmental exposures. Basically, in order to conduct a proper study, you would need to compare something like, farm laborers who have used fertilizers with Drufo, and compare that to farm laborers who have used fertilizers without Drufo. That would be a great example of that apples to apples scenario.
Have there been any studies conducted on Drufo?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was just referencing Dr. Rogers' study. Rogers conducted a study that compared those farm laborers to gardeners and to that population that don't do either of those things. And again, like I said earlier, this is a great example of those apples to Toyotas.
Do you have any other thoughts on Dr. Rogers' study?
I do. First of all, I would just like to mention that the study has not been peer reviewed. It's vague, unreliable, and more importantly, it has not been replicated. You know, if the study were conducted once more, there's a possibility that the results would be different. Science is based upon doing things over and over again in order to develop accuracy. Dr. Rogers has failed to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Do you have any final thoughts on this case?
I do, yes. First of all, I would like to say that, you know, I understand that what happened to Dakota is terrible. You know, I would never wish that upon anyone. But, you know, from my extensive experience in research working with these types of chemicals, I just don't see any statistical accuracies with Dr. Rogers' study and therefore no valid evidence that Drufo causes cancer.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. Thank you, Your Honor. I have no further questions.
Oh, thank you. And Ms. Mertz, cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. But before I begin, I want to request a brief time check.
And I'm sure we can come up with that on cross.
It is in the
6:53.
chat.
I'm seeing, yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Dr. Williams, you mentioned something called eutrophication, correct?
Eutrophication, yes, that's correct.
And this is a buildup of when nitrogen from fertilizers converts into bacteria in the soil, right?
Yes, that's right.
Then these nitrates are carried into bodies of water such as lakes and streams, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And this reduces oxygen in the water, killing fish, correct?
Yes, it does. And also is, you know, it's a harmful factor for humans.
Lush products have nitrogen in them, correct?
Yes, they do. And that's with the contribution of Drufo.
So if less nitrogen than other fertilizers, if Lush has less nitrogen than other fertilizers, that doesn't mean it has none, correct?
Yes, that is correct. There is still nitrogen in it.
Nitrogen contributes to nitrate runoff, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Although one thing I will say about, you know, the chemical Drufo is that one of its great benefactors is that
Dr. Williams, I'm
I'm
sorry, but
sorry.
could you please answer yes or no to my questions?
You may indicate to a witness that you have a yes or no question. I do not, in my courtroom, limit witnesses to yes or no if they do not feel that the question can be answered with a yes or no. If such a answer was received, you can ask them why they can't answer yes or no, but I don't limit that kind of testimony that way unless a witness is being obstructive, which this witness is not being instructive. So let's have the question and we'll have an answer.
Would you like me to repeat my question, Dr. Williams?
Yes, please. That'd be great. Thank you.
Lush still has a presence of nitrogen in their products, correct?
That is correct. However, I would like to also mention that, you know, the use of Drufo, although there is still nitrogen in it, one of the great benefactors of that chemical is that it greatly reduces that nitrogen, you know, less pollution in the soil, you know, it creates less of that eutrophication process, you know, there's, you know, no more irrigation runoff, and it, you know, helps out, you know, as also a health factor for our customers.
So there is still a presence?
Yes, but Drufo greatly reduces that presence.
Thank you. And we have already established that nitrate runoff is harmful to humans, correct?
Yes, it is.
The European Nitrate Directive conducted studies that exposes the harmful effects of fertilizers. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Fertilizers like yours, right?
Yes.
And Drufo is still banned, correct?
Yes, currently Drufo is banned in the EU.
And according to you, the ban says that no new formulations may be used that contribute more than incidental nitrate accumulation in lab tests, correct?
Yes, that is correct. The main reason why we can't, distribute products with Drufo in it is because there's still, that tiny bit of nitrogen in it. So that's why we're unable to sell in those countries.
So that's a yes?
Yes, that is a yes.
Thank you. So Drufo does contribute to more than incidental nitrate accumulation, correct?
Yes. Well, yes, I believe so.
Thank you. Lush, however, still manufactured a line of products that did not include Drufo for countries that did ban it, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And you said in your own words that it was just easier to do this, correct?
Yes.
Because you had to make those sales abroad, right?
I mean, for me personally, I'm a very big on, the environment. I would love to be able to distribute products that have Drufo to greatly reduce that, that the environmental effects that, is caused by not having the chemical Drufo in fertilizer products.
But you did manufacture a line of products without Drufo to make those abroad sales, correct?
Yes.
And you did this instead of challenging the European Union ban on Drufo, correct?
Well, Lush it was a very small company back then with very limited resources. And so it just, it seemed easier.
So that's a yes?
Yes.
Didn't you say that Lush puts their environment first, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
But you sold a product that contributes to more nitrate pollution, right?
Well, I mean, we're hopefully trying to, reintroduce our, our product with Drufo into, the European Union's nitrate directive. And so, it's something that we're hopefully trying to, distribute. And so I wouldn't say that it's really something that, we're really welcome to.
But you did sell those products, correct?
Yes.
And we have established that this was because of financial reasons, right?
Well, my position in Lush, I'm mainly a scientist. I'm not really, on the financial situation of the company that I currently work in. I'm mainly here to just, determine the types of chemicals that go into our products so that, they're beneficial for the environment and for, the health of our customers.
Lush did not stand for what they believed in and deliberately sold a product that is more harmful to the environment, correct?
It has been, yes, but.
Objection, this question calls for speculation.
Sorry, Ms. Garcia. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Ms. Mertz. I'm sorry, I looked at the wrong list.
No, you're okay, Honor. Thank you. I just asked a question that clarified that they deliberately sold a product that is more harmful to the environment than their claims about Drufo with Lush.
Response, Your Honor.
And Ms. Blake, what is the speculation there?
Though Dr. Williams has certainly testified that they sold products without Drufo in Europe, she cannot attest to the deliberation of why they chose to sell those products in Europe on environmental bases. As she is established, she is merely in a research position and cannot attest to the market ethics behind Lush's decisions.
And Ms. Mertz?
Your Honor, the question to whether or not they sold products that did not have Drufo in them is not in dispute. I was just clarifying that fact.
But you did say deliberately, did you not?
Yes. Would you like me to rephrase?
Yes. Let's have a different question that does not involve intent.
Okay. So, Ms. Williams, your company did sell a product that is more harmful to the environment than your previous claims, correct?
It was sold in the EU, yes.
And you did that to chase the sales, right?
Again,
once again, this question calls for speculation.
Ms. Dr. Williams has testified that she does not have, she's not privy to that information in the company. So I will sustain the objection. As
Thank
with
you, Your Honor.
the
No further questions. No further questions, Your Honor.
thank you. And is there, Ms. Blake, is there recross? Or I'm sorry, we're at redirect, sorry, redirect.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Without redirect, there is no recross. And consequently, Dr. Williams, your testimony is concluded. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And for the defense, I'm sorry, yes, for the defense, Ms. Shapiro, do you have any additional witnesses?
The defense rests, Your Honor.
All right. And actually, I was, well, that's all right. Ms. Blake, you can speak for lead counsel, Ms. Walker, that's fine. Without any witnesses, we'll move to closing arguments. Give me a moment. And for the plaintiff, Ms. Mertz, are you prepared to close?
Yes, Your Honor.
And let's proceed.
Dakota was chasing after her dreams, and Lush was chasing after money. Members of the jury, my name is Emily Mers, and I, along with my co-counsel, represent Dakota Weirs, the plaintiff in this case. In this race between Dakota and Lush, Dakota got so close to victory. They had gotten the scholarship. They were on their way. Because of Lush's negligence, the company's failure to make a safe product and to provide an adequate warning, Dakota was unable to cross that finish line to achieve her dreams. As you have heard today, Dakota Weirs has sued Lush Fertilizer, the cause of their cancer, specifically non-Hodgkin lymphoma. Members of the jury, I am going to direct your attention to jury instruction number 2. You will see that in order to prove our case, we must first prove that Lush manufactured a line of products containing Drufo. This is not in dispute. Lush prides itself on that very fact. The second element we must prove, and have proven, is that Lush was negligent. Lush did not exercise reasonable care. Dr. Rogers explained to us that with prolonged exposure and without proper gear, that Drufo is carcinogenic. Lush did not do the reasonable thing to ensure that its products were safe. It could have eliminated the risk completely by baking the fertilizer. You heard Blake Doncourt testify that Lush did not do that because it was too expensive to make its products safe. He said in testimony that Drufo does not cause cancer. Lush did not bake Drufo, so they did not eliminate all the possibilities to make sure that cancer was not an option. It could have protected its users by significantly warning them about all the risks. But instead, all the label said was there might be eye irritation. The next question is whether Lush had a duty of care to Dakota. You could say that Lush has a target audience, a group of people that are most likely to use its products. Dakota falls under that group. They were a landscaper that worked for over 4 years. A lot of teens get jobs as landscapers. Dakota was exactly the type of person who Lush knew that would be using their fertilizers. Finally, we have to show you that because of Lush's failure to make its product safe, Dakota suffered damages. Members of the jury, we have clearly proven that Dakota Weirs has been profoundly damaged by Lush's negligence. They contracted non-Hodgkin lymphoma, a potentially terminal cancer, and they had to give up a scholarship to the best music school in the country. They couldn't even attend college. They can't engage in the simple activities that they love, things so simple as playing the piano. So to break it down, Lush had a duty of care to its target audience, i.e., landscaping workers who use fertilizer, like Dakota. Lush breached this duty with its negligence, and because of that, damages occurred. Those damages being non-Hodgkin lymphoma and others. Now you might be thinking, Dakota didn't wear the proper safety products. Shouldn't they be at fault too? Dakota was only 14 years old when they started working at Lush Fertilizer. A miner decided not to wear all these layers because it was hot. What do people do when they're hot? Do they put on more layers? It's not reasonable to expect someone in Dakota's position to fully understand the dangers of Lush fertilizer, especially because the company didn't bother to include a warning. Lush forgot to mention the risks of cancer on its label. Lush knew the fertilizer was not safe and kept it quiet. That was negligence on its part. Now think about who got hurt in the end. Dakota. Because of Lush's negligence, Dakota can no longer play piano. She cannot achieve her dreams, while Lush achieved its goal by profiting off of this unsafe product. Members of the jury, we the plaintiff have the burden of proof previously mentioned. We did prove that Lush fertilizer is more likely than not the cause of Dakota's cancer. Lush fertilizer is carcinogenic. Lush did not act reasonably to protect its customers, and Lush's failure to protect Dakota from the risk of cancer caused her damages. The only verdict that the evidence supporting is finding Lush fertilizer negligent. We ask you, the jury, to consider both sides carefully and return a verdict in favor of Dakota Weirs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for the defendant, we will have closing by Ms. Blake. Is that correct?
Yes,
and
Your
are,
Honor.
and are you prepared?
I am, Your Honor.
And you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Tragedy often prompts a search for truth, but the plaintiff is looking for answers in the wrong place. Today, the defense is asking you, members of the jury, to separate the truth from the tragedy. The truth is that Lush Fertilizer Incorporated is not liable for the damages Dakota Weirs is facing. The plaintiff must prove by a preponderance of the evidence that Lush Fertilizer was negligent pursuant to jury instruction number 2. In order to do so, they must prove causation, duty to warn, breach of duty, and damages. The plaintiff has failed to prove all of their elements today, including damages, in regards to the fact that plaintiff was required in the pretrial orders to allege a certain amount for the damages Dakota Weirs has faced. As they have failed to do so, we do not know the amount they wish to receive. Even so, we are empathetic for Dakota and understand the impact that this cancer will have and has had on Dakota's life, but Drufo is not the cause. Let's start with causation. The plaintiff must prove that Lush Fertilizer failed to exercise reasonable care to prevent an unreasonable risk or harm to persons who use that product. You first heard from Lush's CEO, Blake Doncourt, who talked about the extensive testing and research that went into Drufo before it was put on the market. You heard him talk about how baking is unnecessary since the product is already safe. And lastly, you heard him discuss the user recommendation labels that Lush puts on their products because, of course, fertilizers are inherently toxic. You then heard from Skylar Weirs, who has spent years researching and investigating Drufo and has not found a single study that links Drufo to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She talked about how fertilizers with Drufo only need to be sprayed 1 to 2 times a year, while other fertilizers need to be sprayed 5 to 6 times a year. And lastly, you heard her discuss how Dakota Weirs is the only person to connect Drufo to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then you heard from Dr. Casey Rogers, who tried to convince you that there is a correlation between exposure to Drufo and cancer. But you also heard from Dr. Williams, who challenged Dr. Rogers' study and showed how it is more flawed than accurate. You heard Dr. Rogers discuss their study, but failed to specify crucial details about the study, such as the amount of time she followed her subjects or the size of the groups. You heard Dr. Rogers discuss the reports she heard on the danger of Drufo, but failed to specify crucial details about those reports. Members of the jury, the very basis of Dr. Rogers' study hinges upon comparing 2 completely different things, apples to Toyotas. And ultimately, Dr. Rogers' study has not been peer-reviewed, has not been replicated, and thus proves nothing. In fact, you heard Dr. Williams testify to the safety of Drufo and how, overall, the use of Drufo has not been correlated with a statistically significant increase in the incidence of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or any other cancer. But let's move on to duty.
First of all, in order to have duty, one must have causation, and Lush has already proven that there is no carcinogenic risk to Drufo and thus no causation. But even then, you heard Mr. Doncourt discuss how even if there were concerns about Drufo's safety, Carson Durst kept that information like a secret, while Mr. Doncourt kept the integrity of his company like an oath. You heard about the user recommendation labels Lush puts on their products, warning users to wear long sleeves, long pants, and a mask. And yet you heard Dakota Weirs testify that she didn't do any of those things. Therefore, there's no breach of duty from Lush. Members of the jury, we have proven to you that Drufo is not the cause. There was no breach of duty, no causation, not even any damages. You must rule in our favor. If not, you must then consider the comparative negligence pursuant to jury instruction number 8, as Dakota Weirs failed to follow the instructions on the warning label on Lush's products. Members of the jury, our job today is to separate the truth from the tragedy, show that Drufo is wrongfully at the heart of this case. You heard for yourself that Drufo is not carcinogenic and is therefore not the cause of Dakota Weirs' cancer or any other cancer. Find Lush Fertilizer Incorporated not liable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could we have a time check on the plaintiff's rebuttal? $22. Do you wish to have a rebuttal, Ms. Mertz?
Briefly, Your Honor. Yes, I do.
All right, 22 seconds starts now.
Opposing counsel asked that you separate truth from tragedy. They mentioned many times that they are sorry for Dakota and that they wouldn't know what to do in that position. They are not in that position. Dakota is. Dakota just wants justice and compensation for her emotional damages. Apples to Toyotas? Opposing counsel thinks it's appropriate to compare this confusing analogy? How sensitive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The case is now submitted to the jury. The scoring panelists are going to be scoring now with their video screens off. As you submit your scoring ballots, scoring sheets, please rejoin us by video. That way I know that that you have submitted those sheets. I would like everybody else, all the other participants and witnesses and the timekeepers to activate their screens though, and I will entertain you for a few minutes and burn a little time while the scoring panelists do their work. Because for this round, your work's done, as is mine. I want to congratulate all of you. This was a hell of a presentation, quite frankly. I told some folks yesterday that this is my first Denver competition that I've judged. It's my 16th, however, 15 of those in Arapahoe County. And I've learned yesterday and now today that Arapahoe County does not have a monopoly on excellent student participants in this competition. So congratulations. I will congratulate you. I would like you to do the same to congratulate the other team members and also all the people that are following us who have supported you, parents, coaches, teachers, friends. They deserve your applause as well. I can't get into specifics by individual yet, although I will before we're done because we are a little ahead of time. We moved right through this, but I will tell you that first of all, whether my rulings are correct or not, that's the ruling in the case, but I try to do them with some depth and detail so that you understand, that there are arguments on either side that may be for you or against you on these types of rulings from the bench. That's just how it works. And I try to do it when I was on the bench. I always added that detail because it makes a good record in case the case were to be appealed, or just so the attorneys know that I've thought this through, that the judge has thought this through is not just, rubber stamping overruling an objection or sustaining an objection. And I like that so that the case can move smoothly forward. And I hope that it is of some use to you having those rulings. We get great witnesses in this case. I mean, I haven't, really great witnesses across the board. All 6 of you were just great. All of you, whether it's witnesses or attorneys, you're doing a really good job on your scripts. You all have scripts on what is to happen, but you're not you may consult them to move on to the next point, but you're making great eye contact. You're not reading verbatim what is down there, just sort of probably bullet points of, now talk about this. Witnesses the same. Every witness was all awfully good as far as being on your facts, knowing what to do, and getting off script. If there was a curveball either from an attorney or a witness, the witness reacted all the witnesses reacted very well to those curveballs, as did the attorneys. When a witness would say something that you weren't quite sure of where they were going, very good, all of you, all 12 of you. One comment, because both sides did it. When you are, let me see if I've got all my people back yet. I think, oh no, we're still missing one scoring panelist, so I'll make a comment here. Nope, we've got them. So I'll hold any comments I have until we have all of the scoring panelists having their comments. Ms. Evans, might as well start with you.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. First of all, I want to say that everyone did an amazing job. I was very impressed. I've done a lot of trials myself, and you guys could have easily done one. So it was really amazing.
Glad I was not scoring this, quite honestly. This was a close one. So go
Yeah,
ahead.
It was definitely close. I think that starting with Team Orchid, I think you guys did a great job, at least kind of being in the moment. I know you guys had notes that you didn't totally rely on, like the judge said, but it was, I think you guys were definitely thinking on your feet, which was good. Let's see here. I took notes for every single one of you, but there's just a lot of them, and I know I don't have a lot of time. Miss Delgado, you, let's see here. You did a good job on the first direct. You had really clear questions. I like how all of you put your direct questions into context, and you kind of use flagging words to kind of move it along and create context. I think that's a really good tool that you used. You didn't go into damages as much as maybe I would have liked, but I'm not really sure if that's part of the rules to not really go into I know you couldn't talk about the economic damages. And then on cross, that was really great as well. That was the other team. So we'll stay on the one team. And then we had Miss Garcia. I think you also did a really great job. Let's see here. I have too many notes. The witness, Miss Weirs, I believe, Dakota Weirs, I felt like could have maybe been a little bit more emotion into it. But otherwise, I think she had a good sense of the facts. Miss Mertz, I think that you did an amazing cross of the expert on the other side. I was really impressed with your cross. I thought it was really good. You were really thinking on your toes. And overall, you guys did a great job. Let's see here. The other team, you guys also are very professional, very, you had great responses to objections. The first team, I think, had better objections, and I think the second team had better responses to objections. You guys seem very prepared. I think at some points I felt like maybe almost like it was like rehearsed a little bit, like you kind of knew exactly what you were going to say, which it came off, it sounded amazing, but it seemed a little bit less, like it almost seemed like it was rehearsed in some points. So, and if I go through each of the people, so I'm trying to think of everyone's names. So we had, let's see here. I don't want to take too long. So the direct, great demeanor, great response to relevance, great response. There was definitely good listening. And then all your witnesses were amazing, by the way. They were very well prepared, definitely listening. Let's see here. Skylar Weirs had a good attitude, great grip on the facts. Miss Blake did a good job, or Mr. Blake did a good job qualifying witnesses, or Miss Blake, and had great listening. And really all of you were really amazing. I was really impressed. So sorry if I missed anyone. I just took too many notes so I couldn't concisely get them all, but you all did a really great job.
Ms. Duncan?
Yeah, I overall was so impressed by all of you. I'll try to give some succinct notes, but I also took a lot of notes because you guys were just so great. Both of you. You all have really good handles on objections. Honestly, some objections, even lawyers still struggle with, and judges, like best evidence, that's a tricky one. I would say most of the time, just for everyone, if you're not quite sure what the objection is, and it's about somebody saying something that someone else said, whether it's a study or a statement, just object on hearsay. Most of the time, if you can throw that out, or relevance, you're going to get somewhere with a judge, and you might get yourself on the right track, even if you're not sure at first. I'll start with Ms. Delgado. You did a really good job with objections, and even just taking a second when you weren't sure, just to consult with co-counsel. That's a great, strategy. I will say, I can tell you're really smart and know what you're doing. So I would say you can be a little bit more assertive in your tone, just be a little bit more powerful because you know what you're doing. Ms. Mertz, you had 2 doctors, which is hard because some of the subject matter, at least for me, did seem kind of complicated. You had a good handle on it and everything. In your closing, your theme was really good. How the plaintiff, is chasing her dreams while the defendant's out there chasing profits. That's a great emotional hook, and you did a good job of succinctly showing how you proved each element. And then Ms. Garcia, you got the emotional. Ms. Garcia got the emotional hook out in the opening. You were completely off your notes, which was awesome and very impressive because that's really hard to do. You also did a good job on your direct of Carson, of signaling your kind of like goalposts along the way, like, okay, I want to talk about this. Showing what you're going to be talking about to the jury is always really helpful before you start asking the questions. I would say on the cross of the sister / expert Skylar, I was a little confused about why there wasn't a voir dire on the expert qualifications, since hers were kind of shaky, but you got to it on cross. I would just, as a point, just maybe go into it on voir dire to get ahead of it. And then for the defense, let's see. Ms. Walker, I wrote down specifically on your cross of Carson, You did a good job of controlling the witness. He was getting a little bit away with the questions and starting to just kind of volunteer a bunch of information. You did a good job putting a pause on that and saying, you know, this is a yes or no question, which, like the judge said, sometimes, you know, judges are going to let them answer if they want to. But if you say that and say, this is a yes or no question, a lot of times it'll get the witness under control. So good job with that. And then Miss Blake, your voir dire of Dr. Rogers was really good. Good strategy to do that at the beginning. And your closing was also really good. Your theme of not separating, separating truth from tragedy was catchy and smart, I thought. And then Ms. Shapiro, every single thing you had, I wrote that you did an excellent job. You were extremely impressive throughout everything. I will say, I don't think I get the strategy of trying to appear sympathetic to the plaintiff in the case, but I don't think you have to go as far as you did. You know, I get why you did it, but, you know, normally they're going to do the job of making the jury feel sad. You can be respectful and, you know, change your tone and stuff, but you don't necessarily have to feel that bad for them. But you did an amazing job. Great job, everyone.
And Ms. Hill.
Yeah, really great job. I also was very impressed with the skill level. You guys are very young and already have demonstrated that you're like more than capable of trying a case at this stage. So I'll start with Orchid, just some general comments, and I apologize if I'm a little bit redundant because a lot of my comments overlap with the other two panelists. But I think overall you guys had a really good command of the facts. You all thought on your feet, you have good instincts. And I just think that you really should follow those instincts, especially with a like more gumption and confidence, because you do know it well. And a lot of times it is just a matter of, you know, taking that leap and saying it with just a little bit more confidence, a little bit more volume, and that'll kind of get you there because you already know the facts. And you also all have a really great affect about you, like really great demeanor. I think I would have enjoyed more eye contact. I know it's a lot of information and it's just difficult to keep all the information in your head. But again, thinking on your feet, trusting yourself. I think if you pulled away from the notes a little bit more, it would have made your presentation a little stronger. So just some very quick individual notes. Ms. Delgado, I thought that, again, very friendly demeanor, great transitions, you're very thoughtful. So I see that you're pausing before you're answering questions. You're really trying to think through your reasoning for things prior to answering. Ms. Garcia, I really love your tone. I think you're so like measured. You kind of remind me of myself. You take your time, you're confident. But it's sort of like a silent confidence that you have about you, and you have a great command of the facts as well. Ms. Mertz, I think you did a really strong job on cross and a really, really great closing. I mean, I was like phenomenal. I was like blown away by that. For Team Poppy, overall general comments, very professional. You guys know the rules. Like, it seems like you have a really great coach because you know the rules, and even just like very subtle. I noticed a lot of subtleties just even in your delivery. And as someone who did mock like trial, I like was in law school and high school, I was like kind of fanning over that. So really great delivery. You're professional, prepared. Again, you guys really took your time, and I could tell that you were being really thoughtful. I do agree that sometimes it was coming, although it was a really clean delivery, it was coming across as a little rehearsed. I think that I would have liked to see maybe like a little bit more personality, something that kind of broke through like really clean rehearsed delivery. But overall, really great. Miss Walker, I thought you were confident. You had a great control throughout cross and controlling the witness without being too like abrasive, which can happen sometimes when you're trying to get control of cross or you feel like you're out of control. Ms. Shapiro, thought again, very confident, clean delivery. And Miss Blake, I thought you were great on cross, great with voir dire, and had a really strong, really phenomenal actually closing. So overall, really great job, both of you, both teams. I just thought you brought really two different things to the table, which made it really difficult, I think, to score you guys, but great job.
Thank you. And I'll make one quick comment before you all get a break until round 4. And that's about this yes, no answer business. Not every judge does that. I'm kind of a stickler on it about not allowing it, but I'll tell you this, the best way to deal with that when someone is when you're asking an obvious yes, no question on cross-examination and the witness is not answering yes or no, rather than interrupting, which jury doesn't like when lawyers, the jury in general doesn't like lawyers. They like witnesses, they like the plaintiff, they like the defendant, they don't like lawyers. Nobody likes lawyers. So when you interrupt, even though you're correct, perhaps, that this is a yes, no question, rather than interrupting, Ms. Garcia did exactly the right thing, which is how I was taught, which is you let him go on. And then at the end, you roll your eyes a little and say, is that a yes? Or that's a yes, right? And it embarrasses them. You're not interrupting them. They're embarrassed because, yeah, they have to in the end say, yep, yes. And they won't do it again, usually, because they don't want to be embarrassed again by going on and on a yes, no question. But that was a great comeback by Ms. Garcia. And I like that way. That's the way I used to do it. Anyway, all of you are excused, all the participants. I'd like the scoring panelists to stay on for just a minute. We've been told by the CBA representative that we're all done for this round. So all of you, thank you very much. You did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I had a quick question about something that we did. We had a moment where we kind of do like the interruption by the lawyer. I don't know if you can give us comments on that now, but we would love to know what you think about that. Like, was it too aggressive?
No, it wasn't. Everybody else is gone, but no, it was not too aggressive. It's just juries don't like people interrupting for any reason. They want to hear things. They don't want to know that something's been held from them. That's all. Well, if you have to do it, you do it. But
yeah, no, I completely understand. Thank you so much.
You bet. For the three of you, thank you very much. I have no role in this other than being the judge, but we were told at one time, and I preface this way, we were told in the beginning, let's keep these comments short so that the kids can get back. But I will tell you that your comments, and they were comments that you made to these attorneys, young woman to young woman, these were probably the best comments I've heard in years of you. They were really listening to what you said, and they were listening to you because you are them grown up. They look at you as role models, honest to God. I could tell just by their facial expressions while you were making personal comments about their performance, they were just riveted to those. And I might have tried to cut that short, to be quite honest, if it had been some guys talking to them. But you are their role models, and I was incredibly impressed at how detailed and attentive you were in your comments. So I'm very thankful, and I hope you're staying around for the 4th round. So thank you anyway, and I guess we go back to the Zoom. Yeah, the Zoom conference looks like it started about 10 minutes ago. That Zoom conference we don't have to listen to anymore because we've heard it several times now. But thank you again.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.